Doupo, outstanding intelligence. Starting by joining the chat group. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301 Zhu Yuan's Fear. Zhu Yuan was embarrassed when he heard this. Brother Xiao, please stop making fun of me. After a pause, Zhu Yuan said to the two women, "We have no other intentions." The two ladies don't need to think too much. "We'll leave now. See you again if we're lucky." After that, Zhu Yuan wanted to pull Xiao Fan away. At this time, the woman in white smiled and said, "I trust the character of the two gentlemen. My name is Baisuzan, and this is my sister Xiaoxiao." What? When Zhu Yuan heard the names Baisuzan and Xiaoxiao, his expression suddenly changed. The admiration in his heart and the embarrassment of being exposed by Xiao Fan turned into fear at this moment. Previously, in the chat group of the 10,000 Worlds, Zhu Yuan had already known most of his fate through Xiaoxiao's description, and even more about what happened between him and Baisuzan. Just as Zhu Yuan himself said, if he didn't know that Baisuzan was a 1,000-year-old snake demon before, he should have agreed to marry Baisuzan. But now that he knows in advance the identity of Baisuzan as a 1,000-year-old snake demon, he can't help but imagine a terrifying giant snake when he sees Baisuzan, and he is terrified. Not only Baisuzan, but Xiaoxiao is also a snake demon. Thinking that he had been swimming with two snake demons for most of the day, Zhu Yuan couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Although Zhu Yuan knew from Xiaoxiao that Baisuzan came to him to repay her kindness and would not hurt him, but as long as he thought of the identities of Baisuzan and Xiaoxiao snake demons, Zhu Yuan really couldn't accept it. After all, Zhu Yuan was just an ordinary apprentice in a medicine shop. Xiao Fan was very calm when he heard Baisuzan's introduction. However, Xiao Fan was also a little surprised in his heart. He couldn't see the strength of Baisuzan and Xiaoxiao, and he couldn't sense any breath of snake demons on them, which was a bit unusual. When Baisuzan saw Zhu Yuan's appearance, her eyes flashed slightly and she asked softly, "Mr. Zhu, what's wrong? Is there something wrong?" Zhu Yuan looked at Baisuzan and always felt like a big snake, staring at him with its bloody mouth, ready to swallow him at any time. He couldn't help but shouted, "Don't come over here." While shouting, Zhu Yuan retreated again and again, keeping a distance from Baisuzan and Xiaoxiao. Xiao Fan made up a lie, "Miss Bei and Miss Xiaoxiao, don't mind it. Brother Hanwen was just scared by a dream." Xiaoxiao snorted coldly, "What does his dream have to do with my sister?" "Xiaoxiao, don't be rude." Baisuzan was also very puzzled, but she was still relatively restrained. She waved her hand to stop Xiaoxiao, and then asked Xiao Fan, "What dream was it?" Xiao Fan said calmly, "Brother Hanwen told me that he had a dream before. He dreamed of a pair of sisters named Baisuzan and Xiaoxiao. In the dream, he had a very pleasant conversation with the sisters, but the sisters kept their backs to him. At his request, the sisters turned to face him. Baisuzan said, 'So, Mr. Zhu has seen Xiaoxiao and me in his dream?' Xiaoxiao also frowned, with a look of suspicion on her face. Xiao Fan shook his head slightly and said slowly, "When the two women faced Han Wen, what he saw was not a human face, but two huge snake heads, one blue and one white, which opened their bloody mouths at the same time and ate him." Swish! Baisuzan and Xiaoxiao's faces suddenly changed when they heard what Xiao Fan said. They had never mentioned that they were snake demons to anyone. Xiao Fan and Zhu Yuan met them for the first time today, so it was impossible for them to recognize their true identities. Could it be that what Xiao Fan said was true? But why did Zhu Yuan have such a dream? Zhu Yuan was also stunned at this time. Xiao Fan said it in a very realistic way, making him think it was true. However, this explanation is reasonable. Xiaoxiao said coldly, "Humphrey, you mean that my sister and I are big snakes? That's too much." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "This is just a dream of Han Wen, but he was affected by the dream, so he had such a reaction when he heard your name. It is absolutely not intended to offend the two girls." Zhu Yuan quickly followed and said, "Yes, we have no intention of offending you two. We will leave now." "Brother Xiao, we should go back. My master will test my homework in the evening. I have to go back and prepare in advance." "Okay, Xiao Fan agreed, and then smiled at Bei Suzhen and Zhao King. Goodbye. After that, Xiao Fan and Zhu Yuanzhang left the West Lake and hurried back to the direction of King Yutang in the city. Stop. Tell me clearly. Zhao King saw this and shouted angrily. Bei Suzhen waved her hand and stopped him. Forget it. Zhao King, let them go. But, sister. Zhao King wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Bei Suzhen. Bei Suzhen looked at the direction where Xiao Fan and Zhu Yuanzhang left with a complicated expression, and then left with Zhao King. On the other side, after Zhu Yuanzhang and Xiao Fan left West Lake, they immediately looked like they had survived a disaster. They patted their chests and said thankfully, Fortunately, I was scared to death. Fortunately, the two snake demons did not commit violence in public. Xiao Fan shook his head slightly and smiled. Didn't I say that although they are snake demons, they will not hurt you? You just need to treat them normally. Besides, if they really want to harm you, your appearance just now would not give them more motivation to do it? Zhu Yuanzhang said a little embarrassedly. Although I said that, I was really too scared. They were snake demons. Fortunately, Brother Zhao reacted quickly, but I would rather meet them in a dream. Xiao Fan comforted, okay, don't scare yourself, let's go. I'll take you back to the medicine shop first. Zhu Yuanzhang nodded slightly and quickly agreed. Not long after, the two returned to the medicine shop. After returning to the medicine shop, Zhu Yuanzhang's frightened heart finally felt a little more at ease. Xiao Fan exchanged a few words with Zhu Yuanzhang, then said goodbye and returned to the Dqi world through the Wanji chat group. After returning to the Dqi world, Xiao Fan entered the Yuanqi Tower again, preparing to refine the dragon pill in the Yuanqi Tower. Although with Xiao Fan's strength, there is no one in the entire Dqi continent who can threaten him. However, Xiao Fan has gotten used to it. Every time he practices in seclusion, he chooses to be in the Yuanqi Tower. It is not only safe but also quiet, and there is no need to worry about being disturbed. Dragon pill? I hope you won't let me down. Xiao Fan took out the pill for the sign-in reward from the system space, murmured in a low voice, and then put the dragon pill into his mouth. The pill melted in his mouth and soon turned into a stream of pure energy, pouring into Xiao Fan's body. Chapter 302, Nine-Clawed Golden Dragon, First Meeting with Willow God. Without any hesitation, Xiao Fan directly activated the Thunder Emperor technique, quickly refining and absorbing the pure energy brought by the dragon transformation pill. As Xiao Fan refined, the total amount of qi in his body continued to increase, and his aura gradually strengthened. 5-starred Emperor Peak, 6-starred Emperor Early Stage, 6-starred Emperor Middle Stage, 7-starred Emperor Late Stage, 7-starred Emperor Peak. It was not until his cultivation level was raised to the 7-starred Emperor Peak that Xiao Fan felt that the pure energy was completely refined and absorbed by him. Xiao Fan sensed that the power of the dragon transformation pill had been completely refined and absorbed. Just as he was about to end his cultivation, he suddenly felt a unique feeling in his body, as if he wanted to change into a new form. Is this another effect of the dragon transformation pill? Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly, and soon figured out the reason. He immediately stopped resisting and let his body change on its own. Then, Xiao Fan's hands first transformed into 2 dragon claws, and then his legs transformed into a dragon tail. After a quarter of an hour, Xiao Fan had completely transformed into a dragon, a 9-clawed golden dragon that exuded a powerful dragon's might. Yin. After transforming into a 9-clawed golden dragon, Xiao Fan opened his mouth slightly and subconsciously uttered a loud dragon roar. Xiao Fan, who had transformed into a 9-clawed golden dragon, soared in the space of the Source Energy Tower for a while, and then his mind moved slightly, and he turned back into a human body. Xiao Fan flew around in the Source Energy Tower and had figured out the transformation between dragon and human. There was no difficulty limit, and it was completely up to him. This dragon pill is not bad. After experiencing the dragon transformation, Xiao Fan nodded with satisfaction while changing his clothes. The only bad thing about dragon transformation is that it wastes clothes. After the training, Xiao Fan talked to the body tree in the Yuanqi Tower for a few more words. Finally, after obtaining the consent of the body tree, he moved it into his own small world, with 2 sacred trees, the world tree and the body tree. the growth rate of the small world will only be faster. After dealing with the matter of the body tree, Xiao Fan's figure flashed slightly, leaving the small world and returning to the Lian sect in the Qi continent. Ziyan, King Lin, Han Yu and Han Zu's sisters were very happy to see Xiao Fan come out of retreat. Xiao Fan did not rush to other worlds, but stayed in the Lian sect and spent a happy time with the four girls. Then he communicated with the Willow God in the chat group again and traveled to the Perfect World. Perfect World. Xi Village. The villagers of Xi Village built a large altar with some huge stones. Next to the altar, there was an old willow tree that seemed to have been broken. The trunk of the old willow tree was charred black, and only a tender green new branch swayed gently on the side of the trunk, as if it was expecting something. At this moment, a mysterious illusory light gate suddenly appeared not far above the altar. Xiao Fan stepped out of the illusory mysterious light gate, looking at the old willow tree in front of him. Xiao Fan's eyes flashed slightly, and he smiled and said, "God of Willow, will you meet me in this appearance?" Buzz. The next moment, a buzzing sound came from the old willow tree, and a faint halo was produced. From the halo, a tall woman walked out. The woman was wearing a green long skirt and a golden crown on her head. She was the human form of God of Willow. "Hello, Mr. Xiao." God of Willow looked at Xiao Fan and said hello faintly. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Hello, I am sorry to disturb your meditation this time." Willow God said, "No problem, I am not in a hurry." Xiao Fan said, "I have something here, maybe it can help you to some extent." As he said that, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he took out a piece of heaven and earth fairy milk with the outer circle of golden liquid from the ring, and handed it to Willow God. Willow God felt the pure and rich power from the heaven and earth fairy milk. This kind of power can greatly improve the cultivation of ordinary people. Willow God can sense that with her current cultivation, although these heaven and earth fairy milks cannot improve her cultivation, they can repair her injuries to a certain extent. Willow God was a little surprised and said, "What is this?" "You know, Willow God is a fairy king, and the injuries she suffered are not ordinary. What Xiao Fan took out casually can actually be effective for her injuries." "How can Willow God not be surprised?" Xiao Fan said, "It may be called differently in different worlds. In the world where I got this thing, it is called Heaven and Earth Fairy Milk." Heaven and Earth Fairy Milk. It really deserves this name. Upon hearing this, Willow God was silent for a while, and then whispered. Xiao Fan smiled slightly and said again, "Take it. It's my little gift. I think you should be able to refine and absorb it." "Thank you." Willow God thanked Xiao Fan, stretched out her hand, and the Heaven and Earth Fairy Milk fell into her palm. Xiao Fan said, "It is a kind of fate that everyone can join the same chat group from all the heavens and the myriad worlds. Just think of it as mutual help between friends. Willow God will not despise me as a weak friend, right?" Willow God shook his head slightly. Mr. Xiao was too modest. After the two chatted casually for a few words, Xiao Fan said to Willow God, "You go back first and try to refine the Heaven and Earth Fairy Milk to see how much effect it can have. I will just wander around here casually." Willow God hesitated slightly, and then said, "Then I'll leave." After a pause, Willow God's figure disappeared again, leaving only an old willow tree in the original place, and the only willow branch swayed in the wind. Xiao Fan stared at the old willow tree for a while, and then walked around in the stone village. Xiao Fan was also somewhat interested in the arbitrary Emperor of Desolate Heaven. He wondered what the Emperor of Desolate Heaven would look like in his childhood. Suddenly, Xiao Fan sensed that there seemed to be a lot of monster fluctuations in a mountain forest not far from the stone village. There were also many human breaths among them, and those humans seemed to be particularly excited at the moment. Sensing this situation, Xiao Fan's heart moved slightly, and he immediately flashed and flew towards the direction where the fluctuation came from. Not long after, Xiao Fan flew to the source of the fluctuation. Xiao Fan stood in the air at a high place, and all the scenes in the mountains and forests below were clearly reflected in his sight. There was a collapsed stone mountain in the mountains and forests, and under the stone mountain was a huge corpse of Suan Ni. There were figures, and in the mountains and forests, there were 3 waves of people rushing quickly to the rock position pressing the corpse of Suan Ni. While charging, there were also bursts of shouting. The 3 waves of people soon met, and then there was a fierce fight. Suddenly, 5 beasts appeared one after another, each as big as a house, revealing snow-white fangs, and suddenly pounced on the group of people, also wanting to fight for the corpse of Suan. Chapter 303, Helping Hands, Admiration from Huang. At the same time, a long cry was heard in the air, and a strong wind blew. Several fierce birds flew over, each of which was 5 or 6 meters long, with wings spread to 11 or 12 meters. They swooped down and tore 6 or 7 people on the spot, leaving blood all over the ground. Suddenly, all the people alive in the 3 villages were panicked, and their backs were covered with cold sweat. Not far from this battlefield, on a slightly higher mountain, another group of people were gathering at this moment, watching the tragic fighting scene below from afar. It's quite a coincidence. Seeing this scene, Xiao Fan couldn't help but laugh. Although Xiao Fan couldn't say that he was particularly familiar with the plot of Perfect World, he knew some of it. Xiao Fan still knew a little about the riot of the beasts caused by the corpse of Suan. At this moment, there were no people from Shi village among the 3 groups of people fighting below. Under the leadership of the village chief Xiao Yan, all the people in Shi village hid aside, ready to act according to the situation. Run! The people from the 3 villages in front were frightened by the ferocity of the beasts, leaving behind 30 or 40 corpses. The rest jumped into the river and barely got a glimmer of life. After they ran away, the beasts did not chase them, but all stared at the body of Suan. In front of the collapsed stone mountain, there were hundreds of beasts and birds of prey, all of which were rushing madly, trying to dig out the huge rocks and dig out the precious body of Suan. And they were fighting among themselves. The bloody smell was tangy, and the roars were deafening. The people of Shi village hid aside, watching this scene, and they were also terrified. There are too many beasts, and we are not safe here. We might be affected. The village elders in the hiding place of the people of Shi village reminded them. As soon as he finished speaking, a strong wind appeared on the mountain, and 2 huge monsters appeared together, each of which was 7 or 8 meters long, with brown fur, ferocious appearance, and wings on their ribs. It was 2 fierce tigers that rushed towards the people of Shi village. With a whoosh, a gust of wind blew by, and the 2 tigers opened their bloody mouths and bit 2 of the people from Shi village. Be careful, get out of the way. Seeing this, the other people from Shi village shouted in surprise. However, it was too late for the 2 people to dodge. Boom! At this moment, a huge illusory handprint suddenly fell from the sky and slapped the 2 tigers. With a bang, the 2 tigers turned into meat paste at the same time. The place where the 2 tigers were just now directly formed a bottomless pit. The 2 villagers from Shi village who were attacked by the tigers were standing beside the giant pit in a daze, and they didn't react for a while. There is no doubt that the person who made the move was Xiao Fan, who was in the sky. The reason why Xiao Fan helped was, on the one hand, he planned to make friends with the future Emperor Huangtian, and on the other hand, he had a good impression of the simple people in Shi village. The life of Emperor Huangtian was full of ups and downs. I am afraid that this time in Shi village was the most relaxing time for him. Besides God Liu, the villagers of the deserted village also made great contributions to Shihao's happy growth in the deserted village. After dealing with the 2 tigers, Xiao Fan fell directly from the sky and landed in front of the people of Shi village. The people of Shi village were shocked by the previous scene. Seeing Xiao Fan suddenly falling from the sky, they were shocked again. Almost all of them were stunned. Thank you for the rescue. After a while, it was the village chief Xiao Yan who reacted first. He knelt down and thanked Xiao Fan. Thank you for the rescue. Seeing this, the others also knelt down and thanked Xiao Fan sincerely. Even the little Xiao on this side wanted to kneel down and thank Xiao Fan. Seeing this, Xiao Fan quickly sent out a gentle force and helped everyone up. He didn't dare to accept the kneeling of Emperor Huangtian. After helping everyone up, Xiao Fan smiled and said, "You don't have to be so polite, I'm not a god." Seeing that Xiao Fan seemed very kind, the little Xiao asked boldly, "Are you one of the great monks in the rumors?" Xiao Fan nodded and said, "Yes, I am indeed a monk. As for why I rescued you, it was because of the relationship with your Shi village's sacrificial spirit." Xiao Fan just found a reason for himself to take action. Of course, it was barely justifiable to say so. After all, if Willow God had not joined the chat group, Xiao Fan would not have come to the perfect world. let alone encounter the scene of beast triads. What? Sacrificial spirit? Hearing Xiao Fan's words, everyone in Shi village was immediately surprised, especially some young people. They originally had a lot of doubts about sacrificial spirits, thinking that sacrificial spirits had no spirituality. After all, after so many years, it seems that they have never seen the scene of sacrificial spirits appearing. The sacrificial spirits of other villages would appear from time to time. It's really Lord Jiling. Lord Jiling has not forgotten us. The older generation of Shi village people were excited and in tears. Some of the older generation had seen the horror of Willow God and had no doubt about the spirituality of Jiling. However, they didn't know why Jiling hadn't appeared for so many years. Now, Xiao Fan said that it was because of Jiling that they were rescued, and their reverence and faith in Jiling became stronger. Roar! At this time, there were many beasts around, and they noticed the movement here and roared towards the people of Shi village. These beasts had almost no intelligence and could not feel the real horror of Xiao Fan. Seeing this, Xiao Fan said to the people of Shi village, "We will talk about other things later. I will help you solve all the beasts around first." "Thank you, sir." Xiao Yan and others were overjoyed when they heard this, and they all thanked Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan smiled and didn't say much. He urged the energy in his body to form a terrifying giant hand that covered the sky and the sun again, and bombarded the beasts. Boom! The terrifying giant hand blasted away hundreds of beasts and birds in an instant. Not only that, the places where the beasts and birds were located were all slapped down by the terrifying giant hand. The original mountain peak has now turned into a terrifying abyss. Hiss! Seeing this shocking scene again, everyone in Shi village couldn't help but take a breath. This adult is too strong. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of beasts and birds were killed. It's really amazing. If I could have such a strong strength as this adult. What are you thinking? If I could have 1%, no, 1/10,000th of this adult's strength, I would burn incense. Xiao, a little guy in the crowd, looked at Xiao Fan's upright figure, with admiration in his eyes, and in addition, there was a strong yearning. I hope that one day, I can be so strong, so that I can protect the village chief and the villagers of Shi village. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304. Ancient Species. Everyone in Shi village is shocked. Xiao Fan easily dealt with those beasts and birds, turned around and faced the people of Shi village again. Okay, the crisis has been resolved. I sensed that there is a corpse of a Suani not far away. Those beasts and birds are all coming for it. You are not the same, are you? When the people of Shi village heard Xiao Fan's words, their expressions changed slightly, and they didn't know how to speak. After a while, the village chief Xiao said a little embarrassedly, "Yes, sir, we are also coming for the corpse of the Suani, but we didn't expect to encounter so many powerful beasts and birds. If it weren't for your help, we would have suffered heavy casualties this time. If you are interested in the corpse of the Suani, it will be yours." Xiao Fan smiled and shook his head. "No, although this Suani is an ancient relic, it is too weak and useless to me. You can take it." "Thank you, sir." Xiao was overjoyed when he heard this, and hurriedly thanked Xiao Fan. The other people in Shi village were reluctant to give the body of Suani to Xiao Fan when they heard Xiao was going to give it to Xiao Fan. After hearing Xiao Fan's words, they were immediately excited and admired Xiao Fan even more. As strong as Suani was, it was too weak in the eyes of this adult. "I really don't know how strong this adult is." Xiao Fan waved his hand and didn't say much. Xiao bowed to Xiao Fan again to express his gratitude, and then said to the people in Shi village behind him, "Thank you for your gift. Now let's take the body of Suani back to Shi village and make good use of it." "Yes, village chief." When the people in Shi village heard Xiao's words, they agreed without hesitation, and their voices were full of joy. "Wait." At this time, Xiao Fan on the side stopped them. Hearing this, the people in Shi village subconsciously stopped and looked at Xiao Fan with some confusion. Xiao asked cautiously, "Sir, do you have any other instructions?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, The Suani is not dead yet. If you rush to the Suani, you will probably die before the Suani. Xiao Yan and the people in Xi village suddenly changed their faces when they heard Xiao Fan's words. What? The Suani is not dead yet? There was such a big commotion just now, but the Suani didn't react at all. How could it still be alive? Could it be that the Lord has seen it wrong? Shut up. Xiao Yan heard the discussion of the people in Xi village behind him. His face turned cold, and he hurriedly shouted to stop them. He didn't want the people in Xi village to offend a terrifying and powerful god like Xiao Fan because of their outspokenness. That would definitely be a disaster for Xi village. Xiao Fan smiled faintly. Don't be nervous, village chief. I have a good personality and I usually don't take my anger out on others. Of course, if any of you don't believe me, you can try it next to Suani. Xiao Yan hurriedly said, we naturally believe what you said. I wonder what we should do now? Xiao Fan said. Wait a minute. In addition to Suani not being dead, there are two other beasts that need to be dealt with. Their strength is not much different from Suani. Two more beasts. Xiao Yan and everyone in Xi village were shocked when they heard this. Little Xiao also looked around nervously, but did not find any trace of the beast. Xiao Fan was too lazy to talk nonsense. He smiled slightly and urged the chi in his body with both hands at the same time, forming two illusory big hands, grabbing in two different directions. Roar! Roar! The next moment, two beast roars of shock and anger sounded in the mountains and forests. Then, two illusory big hands returned to the sight of the people in Xi village at the same time. In the two illusory big hands, there was a beast full of fierce aura. This is the demon ape, and the Lihuo bull demon. Seeing the appearance of the two beasts, the people in Xi village couldn't help but exclaimed. Even the village chief Xiao Yan was frightened and broke out in a cold sweat. If it weren't for Xiao Fan, they would not have discovered that there were two such powerful beasts. They wanted to snatch food from the mouths of these two beasts, which was simply a dead end. The two beasts were caught by the illusory big hands of Xiao Fan, and they kept struggling desperately, but it was useless. Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly used the Sword of Soul to wipe out the souls of the two beasts, and then threw the bodies in front of the people in Xi village. These two beasts' bodies will also be given to you. Although these beasts are extremely ferocious to the people in Xi village, they are insignificant in front of Xiao Fan now, and their bodies are of no use to Xiao Fan. Thank you, sir. Xiao Yan was grateful when he heard this. Xiao Yan was still thinking about how to prepare for Shi Hao's baptism. Now, wouldn't the bodies of these two beasts be very suitable? Let's go. Let's go see the Suani. Xiao Fan smiled slightly, and then walked straight to the location of the Suani. Xiao Yan called on the people of Xi village to carry the bodies of the demon ape and the Lihuo bull demon, and then followed Xiao Fan carefully. Little Xiao was also in the crowd, looking at Xiao Fan's back, and the admiration in his eyes became stronger. Under the leadership of Xiao Fan, the group soon arrived at the location of the Suani. Xiao Fan waved his hand and easily shook off the surrounding rocks that were pressing on the Suani. The full appearance of the Suani was immediately displayed in everyone's sight. As a species of ancient times, the four legs of Suani are as thick as pillars, strong and powerful, and covered with golden animal hair, dazzling, as if cast from gold, shining, and fierce, with primitive runes flashing on its body, dazzling. Is this Suani? It is indeed a species of ancient times, so majestic. Seeing the appearance of Suani, the people of Xi village couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Little Xiao stared at the runes on Suani's body, with some expectation in his heart, whether he could master new treasures from Suani. At this moment, Suani's body suddenly glowed with golden light. The light spread, and the whole mountain forest was dazzling. The trees, rocks, etc. were all light golden. The Suani jumped up, fiercely, and suddenly flew towards the direction of the people of Xi village. When the people of Xi village saw this scene, they were all stunned and lost their ability to react. Just as the people of Xi village were about to suffer heavy casualties under the attack of Suani, an invisible transparent shield suddenly enveloped them. Bang! Suani's attack landed on the transparent shield and was directly repelled. Its body hit the rocks on one side like a cannonball. There was no doubt that it was Xiao Fan who took action. Roar! Suani let out a low roar, and a strong fear flashed in his eyes. The people of Shi village felt like they had survived a disaster. Chapter 305, Thunder Emperor's Magic. Emperor Huangtian becomes his disciple. Thank you for saving my life. Everyone in Shi village bowed to Xiao Fan again, expressing their gratitude. Before, a few people suspected that Xiao Fan's statement that Soani was not dead was false, but now they were all ashamed. It's just a small favor. Okay, take all the bodies of the three beasts and go back to Shi village. Xiao Fan waved his hand, but he didn't care about it. Xiao Yan said carefully, Sir, I wonder if you have time to go back to Shi village with us. We can't help but express our gratitude for your kindness to us. Xiao Fan smiled and said, I don't have anything to do, so I will go to Shi village with you. As for thanking you, there is no need to bother. You just need to thank your sacrifice spirit. Xiao Yan said, Sir, we will naturally be grateful to you, and we will not forget your kindness either. Xiao Fan smiled and followed them. Next, Xiao Fan and everyone in Shi village returned to the direction of Shi village. On the way back to Shi village, Xiao Fan suddenly remembered that he had not signed in yet when he came to Perfect World this time, so he gave the system a sign-in instruction in his heart. Xiao Fan had just given the system a sign-in instruction in his heart, and the familiar voice of the system rang out. Ding! Sign-in successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the Thunder Emperor's Treasure Technique. Thunder Emperor's Treasure Technique. Hearing the content of the system reward, Xiao Fan couldn't help but feel happy. This Thunder Emperor's Treasure Technique is the treasure technique of Thunder Emperor, one of the 10 evils in Perfect World. The Thunder Emperor's Treasure Technique can control thunder punishment and the power of heaven. It is also an extremely terrifying treasure technique in Perfect World. Xiao Fan was originally a thunder attribute practitioner, and he has always been more accustomed to using thunder energy to attack. This Thunder Emperor's Treasure Technique is very suitable for him. However, Xiao Fan is not in a hurry to practice the Thunder Emperor's Treasure Technique now. After completing the sign-in, Xiao Fan continued to walk slowly towards Shi village with the people of Shi village. Perhaps it was because of Xiao Fan's action that the wild beasts in the mountains and forests ended in advance. On their way back to Shi village, they did not encounter the interception of the people from village. The people of Shi village returned to the village safely and obtained the corpses of 3 fierce beasts. They were all very happy. The villagers who stayed in Shi village were also very happy to see this scene. The whole Shi village was wrapped in a cheerful atmosphere. Xiao Fan looked at the simple and cheerful Shi village villagers and felt quite comfortable in his heart. Sir, can I ask you for a favor? Xiao Fan was watching the scene of the reunion of the people in Shi village with a relaxed look, and a somewhat childish voice came to his ears. Xiao Fan looked in the direction of the voice, and it turned out to be the future Emperor Huangtian, and the little Xiao came to his side. Xiao Fan squatted down so that Xiao didn't have to look up, and asked with a smile, I know you. Your name is Xiao, right? Although you are young, your performance is very good. Tell me, what do you want to ask me for? Seeing that Xiao Fan seemed to be easy to talk to, Xiao boldly said, I want to ask you to accept me as your apprentice and teach me to practice. Hearing Xiao's words, Xiao Fan couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that Xiao would actually have the idea of worshipping him as a master. Xiao Fan asked with a smile, why do you want to practice? Xiao said in a childish but firm voice, I want to protect the village chief and the villagers in the village from the threat of ferocious beasts. Xiao Fan rubbed Xiao's head with some evil taste, and chuckled, becoming a disciple is not a casual thing, and there is no master-disciple relationship between you and me. However, I can teach you a set of magic skills, as long as you practice it, let alone the nearby beasts. Even the big monsters can't do anything to you. The magic skills that Xiao Fan was referring to were the magic skills of the Thunder Emperor. In the original novel, Xiao also practiced the Thunder Emperor's magic, but that was a long time later. Now that the Thunder Emperor's magic has been passed on to Xiao in advance, Xiao's strength has been enhanced in advance, and perhaps he doesn't have to be as miserable as in the original novel. Xiao couldn't help but feel disappointed when he heard Xiao Fan's previous words, but when he heard Xiao Fan's next words, he felt a little excited again. He looked like a little adult, bowed to Xiao Fan, and said gratefully, thank you for your gift. Haha, I received your gratitude. I will pass on the magic to you in the evening. Xiao Fan rubbed Xiao's head again. After all, this is the head of the Emperor of Desolate Heaven. Yeah. Xiao heard the words and nodded without hesitation. The people of Xi village first worshipped the sacrificial spirit respectfully and placed various tributes on the altar. Then the whole village expressed their most sincere gratitude to Xiao Fan. At dinner time, the whole village gathered together to celebrate the joy of the harvest and express their gratitude to Xiao Fan. After a bonfire party, the village chief Xiao Yan personally arranged the best room in the village for Xiao Fan to rest. Xiao Fan could feel the simplicity and sincerity of the people in Xi village, so he did not refuse this kindness. At night, the little Xiao came to Xiao Fan's door as promised and knocked gently. Sensing Xiao's arrival, Xiao Fan couldn't help but smile. "Little guy, come in. The door is not locked." With a creak, Xiao pushed the door open from the outside, walked into the room, and then closed the door from the inside. "My lord, I'm here. Do you really want to teach me a magic trick?" After entering the room, Xiao asked excitedly, feeling both expectation and worry that Xiao Fan was just joking with him in the evening. "Of course it's true." Xiao Fan smiled and nodded, then continued, "The set of magic I'm teaching you is called Thunder Emperor Magic, and it's a very powerful magic. If you use it against the enemy, it's best not to hold back. Otherwise, if people know you have such a magic, I'm afraid there will be endless troubles." "Yes, I'll take note of what you said, sir." Xiao heard it and hurriedly agreed respectfully. "Sit down on the chair first, and I'll teach you the Thunder Emperor magic." Xiao Fan pointed to the chair in the room and said to Xiao. "Yes." Xiao agreed and sat down on the chair obediently. Xiao Fan took out the Thunder Emperor magic rewarded by the system, carefully comprehended it, tried to practice it himself, and then began to teach Xiao. The system rewarded skills and techniques. Xiao Fan would not have any difficulty in practicing, and he could easily understand them, so there was no need to worry about teaching mistakes. Next, Xiao Fan carefully taught Xiao the content of the Thunder Emperor magic. Although Xiao was still young, he was extremely talented, so it was not difficult for Xiao Fan to teach him. The night was getting deeper and deeper. Except for Xiao Fan and Xiao, everyone else in Xi village had fallen asleep. But at this moment, a rustling sound suddenly came from the entrance of Xi village. The sound was extremely faint, and most people could not hear it at all. Chapter 306, A Sneak Attack in the Dark Night, Suffering the Consequences. But Xiao Fan was not among those ordinary people. Sensing the movement at the entrance of the village, Xiao Fan's eyes flashed slightly, and he asked Xiao to stop practicing. Then he took Xiao and flashed directly above the entrance of the village, watching the movement below. "Why are the people from village here? What do they want to do?" Xiao saw the sneaky figures at the entrance of the village and said in confusion. Xiao Fan smiled slightly. "You will know if you look down." At this moment, at the entrance of Xi village, there were 100 or 200 people sneaking into the village carefully. In the hands of these people, all of them held bows and arrows, ready to shoot arrows at any time, and one of them held a fire starter in his hand, ready to ignite the arrowhead. These people were from village, another village not far from Xi village. "Village chief, do we really want to do this? I'm afraid we will make a mortal enemy with Xi village," someone in the crowd whispered to King, the village chief of village. "So what if we have a deadly feud? Who let the people of Xi village take away the corpse of the ancient relic?" Lord Jilin is about to break through. After Lord Jilin breaks through, if the people of Xi village don't know what's good for them, they will all become sacrifices. King's eyes were cold, and his voice was as cold as a knife. The villagers of village who asked the question couldn't help but shuddered slightly when they heard King's words, and dared not say anything else. At this time, Shan, the leader of the village hunting team, commanded the hunters of village to distribute their positions, and then came to the village chief King. "Chief, everyone is in place, please give the order to shoot." King nodded slightly, and said grimly, "It's time to launch an attack. Tell everyone to light the arrows at the same time, and then shoot them into Xi village at the same time, and give them heavy damage before they react." Shan licked his lips and smiled sinisterly. "Don't worry, village chief, I will give instructions." After that, Shan turned around and gave instructions to other village hunters. The overall strength of village and Shi village is similar. If they fight against Shi village head-on, it is hard to say who will win. In order to be foolproof, Village Chief Blyking planned to let the people of village take advantage of the night to launch a sneak attack on Shi village to gain the upper hand. Although the people of village deliberately lowered their voices when they spoke, Xiao Fan, who was in midair, could clearly hear every word they said. Not only Xiao Fan, but also Shi Hao heard their conversation under Xiao Fan's means, and his face was immediately filled with anger and anxiety. "Sir, these despicable guys from village want to attack Shi village under the cover of night. Let's go and notify the village chief and let everyone prepare for battle. Otherwise there will be heavy casualties." Xiao Fan shook his head slightly. "Even if we notify the village chief now, it's too late. But you don't have to worry. I will take action later." Shi Hao breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this, and then asked in confusion, "Sir, why do you have to wait?" Xiao Fan asked instead of answering, "I learned from the sacrificial spirit of your village that your village let the people of village go once before. Is this true?" Shi Hao nodded and said, "Yes. The people of village swore a blood oath at that time. I didn't expect them to break their oath and want to attack our village." Xiao Fan said lightly, "To be kind to the enemy is to be cruel to your own people. You should remember this lesson. If I hadn't arrived just in time, I'm afraid that countless relatives of your Shi village would have died because of your kindness." Shi Hao was stunned when he heard Xiao Fan's words. Some new ideas began to arise in his simple mind. "Oh no, they are going to attack." At this moment, all the arrows of the people in the village below were ignited, and they had already pulled their bows to the full, ready to shoot rockets. "There is an enemy attack." At this time, some people in Shi village who got up at night saw the large area of fire at the entrance of the village. Their faces suddenly changed, and they screamed. Soon, the whole village became restless. "It's too late to realize it now." Blyking, the village chief of village, sneered, and then ordered a group of village hunters, "Shoot!" Swish, swish, swish. Following Blyking's order, all the hunters in village fired rockets. Hundreds of rockets flew towards the interior of Shi village at the same time. When some people who had regained consciousness in Shi village saw this scene, their faces changed drastically, and they frantically looked for cover. "No, sir, please help quickly and save the villagers of Shi village." Shi Hao saw this scene, and his face was immediately filled with panic, and he asked Xiao Fan for help. Xiao Fan nodded and said, "Don't worry, I'll help right away." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly set up a space barrier at the entrance of Shi village. All those rockets were blocked by the space barrier and hovered in the air, as if an invisible hand had held all the rockets. Some rockets even stopped less than 3 centimeters in front of the eyes of the villagers of Shi village. Seeing all the rockets stop, the villagers of Shi village who had regained consciousness immediately breathed a sigh of relief. At the entrance of the village, the people of village saw this scene, but they were in a state of confusion. What's going on? Why did the rockets stop? So many rockets stopped in midair at the same time. Isn't it too weird? How could Shi village have such ability? Could it be that the spirit of Shi village has awakened and used some tricks? The village chief of village, Blyking, looked at the rockets hovering in the air, his face changing constantly, and he was shocked and angry. Above Shi village, Shi Hao saw that all the rockets had stopped, and he was relieved immediately. He expressed his gratitude to Xiao Fan beside him. "Sir, thank you, you saved us again." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Don't worry, wait until I solve these despicable villains who attacked you, then you can thank me later." After that, in Shi Hao's shocked eyes, Xiao Fan waved his hand casually, and an invisible force of space was activated, instantly turning the direction of all the hundreds of rockets, and they suddenly rushed back towards the location of the people in village. Seeing this, the people in village were completely panicked. "What's going on? All those rockets are flying back. Damn it, what are you still standing there for? Run!" In an instant, everyone in the wolf village was in chaos, making panicked noises while fleeing in all directions. However, their speed was too slow compared to the rockets that were reflected back. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In a flash, hundreds of rockets were all shot at everyone in the wolf village. and not a single arrow missed. Along with a series of screams, people from the wolf village were constantly wrapped in flames, and the smell of burned flesh spread far in the night sky. Chapter 307. Bailikin is in despair and rushes towards Baikun. Soon, all the people from village who came to attack Shi village, except for the village chief Blyking, were turned into charcoal. Blyking looked at this scene with fear and despair in his eyes, and he almost collapsed. When Shi village chief Xiao brought people to the entrance of the village and saw this scene, he couldn't help but gasp. However, thinking that these guys came to attack their Shi village, he felt that they deserved the crime and deserved to die. If it weren't for the sudden change, these rockets would have taken away the lives of the villagers of their Shi village. Xiao thought secretly in his heart, I don't know if it was Lord Jiling who took action this time, or Lord Xiao Fan who took action. Xiao looked at Blyking on the opposite side and said coldly, Blyking, we have let you go once before, and your village has also sworn a blood oath. Why do you dare to sneak attack Shi village at night? Unexpectedly, you will suffer the consequences. Blyking's face was gloomy, and he said in a deep voice, your sacrificial spirit has awakened. The sacrificial spirit of Shi village has not responded for many years. Blyking, the village chief of the neighboring village, also knew this, but he never thought that coming to attack Shi village at night tonight would cause village to suffer such a heavy blow. Humphrey, it was Lord Xiao Fan who killed you bad guys. Fortunately, Lord Xiao Fan is here tonight, otherwise, wouldn't our Shi village be successfully attacked by you? At this time, a slightly childish and angry voice suddenly sounded in the air. When the voice fell, the little Xiao and Xiao Fan also descended into the sight of Blyking and the people of Shi village. Master Xiao Fan, thank you Master Xiao Fan for saving us again. When everyone in Shi village heard Xiao's words and saw Xiao Fan coming, they were immediately filled with gratitude and thanked Xiao Fan. Blyking stared at Xiao Fan's direction, not knowing where such a strange and powerful man came from in Shi village. Blyking took a deep breath, suppressed the emotions of shock, anger, fear, etc. in his heart, and asked Xiao Fan in a deep voice, who are you? Why do you want to interfere in the affairs between our village and Shi village? Xiao Fan said lightly, I will interfere if I want to. What do you think? Blyking was choked by Xiao Fan's words, and was shocked and angry in his heart but did not dare to show it. Taking a deep breath, Blyking said, we are here on the orders of Lord Jiling to retrieve the corpse of the ancient species. If you dare to obstruct us, you will be an enemy of the Jiling of my village. Since you're so arrogant, do you dare to follow me to meet the Jiling of my village? Through the scene just now, Blyking knew that he was no match for Xiao Fan, but Blyking didn't want to die like this, so he thought of provoking Xiao Fan with words and provoking him to village. At that time, he could let the Jiling deal with Xiao Fan. Although Xiao Fan looked very powerful, Blyking felt that the Jiling of their village might not be without a chance of winning. If their Lord Jiling directly killed Xiao Fan, then he could continue to live. If the Jiling of village knew about this, he would definitely thank Blyking's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. Xiao Fan couldn't help but laugh when he heard what Blyking said. Okay, I want to see what the sacrificial spirit of village is capable of. Blyking was overjoyed when he heard this, but on the surface he pretended to be calm and said, you are indeed courageous, I will lead the way to village for you. Seeing this, Xiao, the head of Shi village, hurriedly persuaded him, Master Xiao Fan, don't be fooled by Blyking, the despicable guy. The sacrificial spirit of village is cunning by nature, but its strength should not be underestimated. It's better to be safe than sorry. Although Xiao knew that Xiao Fan was very strong, he didn't know how strong he was. From Xiao's point of view, the sacrificial spirit of village was definitely not easy to deal with. In addition, he was also worried that Blyking and the sacrificial spirit of village were extremely cunning and would set traps to deal with Xiao Fan, so he didn't want Xiao Fan to take risks. Blyking said with a sly smile, do you look down on this adult's strength? Xiao heard what Blyking said and said coldly, Blyking, you despicable villain, don't talk nonsense and stir up trouble. I definitely don't mean that. Xiao Fan waved his hand to interrupt Xiao's words and smiled. I understand what you mean, don't worry, I know my limits. Xiao said, Since the adults have made a decision, we are all willing to go to village with the adults. Village has already wanted to kill our Shi village, so it is reasonable for our Shi village to fight back. Xiao Fan said indifferently, okay, if you want to follow, then follow us. Xiao Fan understood what Xi Yunfeng meant, but Xi Yunfeng was still a little worried, thinking that everyone would go together to help Xiao Fan. In fact, Xiao Fan didn't take the sacrificial spirit of village seriously at all. Even if all the people in Shi village went with him, he could kill the sacrificial spirit of village and ensure the safety of the people in Shi village. Bai Liking, who was standing aside, saw this situation and didn't speak out to stop it. Bai Liking had no choice now. He could only pin his hopes on the Baikun sacrifice spirit. As long as the Baikun sacrifice spirit could kill Xiao Fan, he could continue to live and Baikun could get more benefits. If even the sacrifice spirit could not deal with Xiao Fan, then the fate of Baikun would be doomed. However, Bai Liking still believed in the strength of the sacrifice spirit. Let these guys from Shikun and that arrogant young man become the sacrifices of the sacrifice spirit. With this in mind, Bai Liking honestly led the way in front and headed towards Baikun. Swoosh! At this time, two black shadows appeared in the wilderness outside Shikun, and they quickly jumped out and headed towards Baikun. Bai Liking and the people from Shikun did not notice the movement of the black shadows. Xiao Fan easily sensed that the two black shadows were two mutated giant wolves, as big as elephants. Xiao Fan's eyes flashed slightly, and he thought about it and did not intercept them. If nothing unexpected happens, these two giant wolves should be sent by the Baikun sacrifice spirit to get information, and now they have returned to report the news in advance. Baikun sacrifice spirit is cunning and cautious by nature. If it knows the situation here, it will definitely gather more helpers. Xiao Fan plans to let it gather helpers and solve them all at once to avoid wasting time later. Led by Bai Liking, the group arrived at the entrance of Baikun village soon. Everyone, cheer up. After entering Baikun, you must not be careless. Xi Yunfeng looked at the young and strong people from Shikun who followed behind him and reminded them. Yes, village chief. Everyone agreed to speak out when they heard it. Little Shihao also clenched his fists, his face serious, and prepared for battle. Awoo! At this time, waves of wolf howls, like thunder, sounded in the night sky. Chapter 308. The Cunning and Cruel Old Wolf. The beast tide is coming. In the dark night, pairs of green eyes appeared, like ghost lights, eerie and terrifying. Oh my god, what a big wolf! After the people of Shi village recognized the owner of the green eyes, they couldn't help but exclaimed. They were surrounded. A group of giant wolves with black backs and white bellies appeared. Each one was as big as an elephant, with a bloody mouth and fangs that were more than half a foot long. They were snow white and eerie, and with scarlet tongues. They looked extremely ferocious. This was not just one or two, but a full 40 or 50. A group of ferocious beasts surrounded them, which was far more threatening than the people of village. Although these giant wolves were not as good as the previous demon apes and the Lahuo bull demon, they were not far behind the group of beasts that fought for the body of Soani at the beginning. Moreover, 40 or 50 of them appeared at once. How could the people of Shi village not be shocked? Damn it! The sacrificial spirit of village is really suspicious and cunning by nature. It actually summoned such a group of mutated giant wolves and set up an ambush near village. Shi Linu looked at the wolves around him and shouted angrily. If there were only one or two of these amazing mutated giant wolves, they could deal with them, but so many of them appeared at once, which was simply a disaster for everyone in Shi village. Seeing this scene, Liking smiled and shouted towards the depths of village. Master Sacrificial Spirit, save me, I have a major discovery. Awoo! The giant wolf seemed to have received some orders, and they let out a wolf howl, and then dozens of giant wolves attacked Xiao Fan and everyone in Shi village at the same time. Most of them set their sights on Xiao Fan. It was just because Liking was next to Xiao Fan at the moment. Everyone be careful. Seeing this, Xi Yun, the village chief of Shi village, shouted and rushed towards one of the giant wolves. Other people in Shi village also picked up their weapons and prepared to fight the giant wolf. Xiao Fan hesitated for a moment and did not choose to kill all the giant wolves for Shi village. He just paid attention to the situation of everyone and ensured their safety. While paying attention to the safety of everyone in Shi village, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and a thunder sword appeared in the center of his palm, and he chopped down at the giant wolf. Bang! A terrifying sound rang out, and the giant wolf rushing in the front was directly cut in half by the thunder sword light emitted by Xiao Fan. The broken body fell to the ground and even knocked another giant wolf away. Seeing this scene, the other giant wolves couldn't help but hesitate, and looked at Xiao Fan with fear in their eyes. At this time, Xiao Fan looked at the wolf beside him and smiled faintly. "Do you think you will be safe when you reach the wolf village?" The wolf's face changed, and he said quickly, What are you going to do? If you dare to kill me, Lord Jiling will not let you go." Xiao Fan said disdainfully, "It's just a cowardly old wolf. Do you think I will be afraid of it? Now you are useless. Since you're seeking death, I will fulfill your wish. Don't worry. The old wolf will go down to accompany you soon." Swish! Without waiting for a wolf's reaction, the thunder sword in Xiao Fan's palm fell again, instantly killing wolf. Then, Xiao Fan once again turned his attack target to the mutant wolf pack around. Boom! Xiao Fan just made a move, and the night sky suddenly rang with a terrifying thunder. Countless purple lightning instantly fell from the sky and bombarded the mutant giant wolf. Awoo! In an instant, all the giant wolves screamed violently, and were directly struck into charcoal by thunder while screaming. The remaining villagers of village also heard the movement at the entrance of the village at this time, and hid in the dark to watch. When their village chief Blecking and the dozens of giant wolves were all killed by Xiao Fan, their faces suddenly changed drastically, and they were panicked. "The Damshi village actually brought helpers to our door. Why hasn't Lord Jiling appeared yet? Will Lord Jiling give up our village?" Shi Yun, Xiao, Shi Linu and others from Shi village were also quite shocked when they saw Xiao Fan's great power, especially Xiao. When he thought of the Thunder Emperor's magic that Xiao Fan taught him, he was even more excited. "Is this the power of the Thunder Emperor's magic? I must work hard to practice, and in the future I will be like Lord Xiao Fan, raising my hand to attract the thunder to attack the enemy. It's too strong." At this moment, in the mountains and forests surround them, there was a deafening roar of beasts, like a mountain torrent bursting out, rushing towards here. Beast tide, damn it! That old wolf drove a group of giant beasts from the mountains to attack here. It's really cruel and cunning. When Shi Yun heard the noise, his face suddenly changed and he spoke angrily. Shi Linu said coldly, "The people of Beilakin and Beikun put all their hopes on the old but they didn't expect that the old didn't care about the lives of the people in their Beikun. Under the impact of the beast tide, those people in Beikun can't think of having a good life." Shi Yun said loudly, "Now is not the time to talk about this. Everyone be careful." After instructing everyone in Shikun, Shi Yun asked Xiao Fan for help. "Master Xiao Fan, please help take care of the little one." Before Xiao Fan could speak, the little one Xiao immediately said, "I can kill the beast too." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Okay, you don't have to be so nervous. With the strength of this old how strong can the beast tide be? I will solve it." "Thank you, Master Xiao Fan." Little Xiao was surprised when he heard it. Xiao is now full of confidence in Xiao Fan. At the same time, the villagers in Beikun felt the movement of the beast tide, and their faces changed drastically. "What's going on? Why is there a beast tide?" "I'm afraid the beast tide will soon hit the village. What should we do?" "The village chief has been killed, and Lord Jiling is nowhere to be found." "Can we just wait to die?" "I'm afraid the Jiling has abandoned us." "Everyone, run away." The villagers of village wanted to leave village and escape far away amidst the shouting. Unfortunately, it was too late. Amid the rumbling sound, countless beasts had surrounded the vicinity of village. A woo, a howl came, like the cry of a mountain ghost, indescribably creepy. Above the beast tide, a strange creature spread its wings and flew over. It was only more than 2 meters long, with shiny yellow-brown fur all over its body, but it looked very old, and wrinkles appeared on its wolf face. This was a rare and it was difficult to find one among countless wolf packs. Its front legs are very short, and it can hardly walk on its own. It usually needs to lie on the back of the giant wolf. Fortunately, its own blood is strong, and it has grown a pair of wings, so it can fly. This is the sacrificial spirit of the wolf village, an old wolf that has lived for who knows how many years. The old wolf has a strong aura and seems to be majestic. There are primitive runes flickering on its body. It's the sacrificial spirit that has returned. The villagers of the wolf village were surprised to see the old wolf. The people of Shi village felt the oppression of the old wolf and looked at the countless beasts around them, and their expressions were very nervous. Chapter 309 is extremely shocking. The village is destroyed, the forest shook, dragon-horned elephants, fire rhinos, leopards, kua beasts, leopards, etc. Groups of giant beasts rushed over, many big trees were broken, like a mountain torrent, and there was a large area of black grass. The leaves were flying, the boulders were rolling, and the place was shaking. The scene was terrifying. The people of village were the first to be attacked by the beast tide. In an instant, dozens of people were trampled under the feet of the beasts, their bones were broken, and they were even turned into meat paste. When the other villagers of village saw this scene, they were immediately filled with fear and their faces turned pale. Those who died were all their relatives. They were still communicating just now, but in the blink of an eye, they were separated from life and death forever. Why, aren't these beasts summoned by Lord Jialing? Why are they attacking people from our village? Has Lord Jialing really given up on us? Damn it, let's fight these beasts. At this time, countless beasts stepped over the bodies of the villagers of village and continued to rush towards the people of Shi village. Xiao Yan shouted loudly, "Everyone, be on guard!" All the people in Shi village were on full alert, ready for a bloody battle with the beasts. Woo! In the sky, the wolf was howling like a ghost. The sound was scary. It was driving the giant beast to attack, to eliminate the people in Shi village. Seeing this, Xiao Fan smiled faintly. I thought this old wolf could find some helpers, but this is it. Now that I have seen the means of this old wolf, it's time to end it all. After the voice fell, Xiao Fan opened his 5 fingers, and a dark vortex suddenly appeared in his palm, and a terrifying devouring force came out of the vortex. Woo! The old wolf flying in the air, sensing the terrifying devouring force, suddenly changed his face, and let out a terrified cry, and wanted to escape. However, it was too late. Under the powerful devouring force exerted by Xiao Fan, the old wolf had no power to resist at all, and was easily absorbed into the black devouring vortex in Xiao Fan's palm. Woo! The old wolf called out the last syllable, and was instantly swallowed and refined by the devouring vortex, turning into a nutrient for Xiao Fan's cultivation. Seeing this scene, the other beasts around suddenly stopped in their tracks, and fear appeared in their eyes. The reason why they were driven over by the old wolf was naturally because their strength was not as good as that of the old wolf. Even the old wolf was easily destroyed by Xiao Fan. If they continued to rush forward, wouldn't they be courting death? Too strong. Seeing this scene, everyone in Shi village widened their eyes and witnessed Xiao Fan's powerful means again. The villagers in the wolf village who survived by chance saw that their sacrificial spirits had no power to resist and were swallowed by the strange vortex emitted by Xiao Fan. They were all frightened and pale, and their eyes were full of fear when they looked at Xiao Fan. Roar! At this time, a low roar suddenly came from the surrounding beasts. And then some beasts suddenly turned around and headed towards the depths of the mountains and forests, trying to escape from this dangerous place. Destroy! Xiao Fan uttered the word lightly when he saw this, and suddenly launched a terrifying soul power to strangle the souls of all the beasts around. In an instant, countless beasts were killed on the spot, leaving corpses scattered all over the ground. Hiss! Seeing this, everyone in Shi village and the remaining people in village couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, and their hearts were shocked beyond words. Although it was not the first time they had seen Xiao Fan's terrifying methods, the impact this time was many times stronger, especially the people in Shi village. They felt that Xiao Fan was refreshing their cognition almost every moment. Every time they thought they had seen Xiao Fan's true powerful strength, Xiao Fan would once again use more powerful means to subvert their cognition. Xiao Yan and everyone in Shi village felt that perhaps the strength Xiao Fan showed at this moment was still far from reaching the limit. The little Xiao in the crowd looked at Xiao Fan with a more intense admiration in his eyes. Xiao Fan ignored the shock of the crowd, and with a slight thought, he collected all the corpses of the beasts on the ground into the Yuanqi Tower, and then said to Xiao Yan, "I will collect these corpses of the beasts for you first, and give them to you when we return to Shi village. Originally, Xiao Yan and others saw that the corpses of the beasts on the ground suddenly disappeared, and they thought something was wrong. At this moment, they were shocked again when they heard Xiao Fan's words. Little Xiao was shocked. Master Xiao Fan, you collected all the corpses of the beasts. How did you do it? Xiao Fan nodded slightly. Yes, I have a space storage magic weapon. When you become stronger in the future, you can also have your own storage magic weapon. Hearing this, Xiao was immediately full of expectations. Xiao said, Lord Xiao Fan, you have helped us a lot. You might as well keep the corpses of these ferocious beasts. Xiao Fan said indifferently, these so-called ferocious beasts are not worth mentioning in my eyes. Their corpses are useless to me. Perhaps you in Shi village can use their real blood to baptize the children to avoid waste. Xiao said gratefully. In that case, thank you very much, Lord Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan waved his hand. Okay, there is no need to say more polite words. You deal with the affairs of village first, and then we will return to Shi village. If you want to destroy all the people in village, I can also help. Thank you, Lord Xiao Fan. Xiao thanked Xiao Fan, and then said, however, we can't rely on Lord Xiao Fan for everything. These people in village will be taken care of by the men of our Shi village. I only ask Lord Xiao Fan to help take care of the little one. Xiao Fan smiled slightly when he heard this. It's up to you. At this time, the little Xiao said, Grandpa village chief, I want to go with you to fight the people of village. Xiao hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded and agreed. Okay, let's go together. In the wilderness, there are dangers everywhere. If you want to grow up, fighting and blood are inevitable. Xiao also thinks highly of Xiao and thinks that he must be the hope of Shi village in the future. He wants to focus on training Xiao, so after thinking about it, he still agrees to Xiao's request to fight. Children of Shi village, kill. Xiao saluted Xiao Fan with a fist, and then turned around and shouted to the people of Shi village behind him. You bastards of village, die! Shi Linu shouted, and was the first to rush towards the people of village. Afterwards, the people of other Shi village also attacked village. A large number of young and strong people from the village had died at the entrance of Shi village. The people who stayed in the village were weak, and they were trampled by the beast tide, suffering heavy casualties. In addition, the sacrificial spirit had died, and the people of village had completely lost their fighting spirit. Therefore, in the following battle, it was completely one-sided. After a quarter of an hour, village was completely destroyed and no longer existed. Under the leadership of Xiao, the people of Shi village cleaned up the battlefield, and then returned to the direction of Shi village with Xiao Fan. Chapter 310, The Battle in the Depths of the Wilderness. The Magic of the Suani. After all the running back and forth and a bloody battle, everyone was very tired. After returning to Shi village, they went home to rest. Xiao Fan saw that the little Xiao was also very tired, so he let him go to rest. Xiao Fan had nothing to do, so he continued to comprehend the Thunder Emperor's magic. Time passed quickly, and soon it was the evening of the next day. Little Xiao finally woke up at this time. I'm sorry, Master Xiao Fan, I slept too long. After waking up, Xiao hurriedly found Xiao Fan and apologized to Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan rubbed Xiao's head and smiled. It's okay, you are still young, and it is understandable that you slept a little longer after being tired most of the night. You don't have to worry about the Thunder Emperor's magic. I will stay in Shi village for a while. You can ask me anytime if you don't understand. Xiao was very surprised when he heard this, and he was about to jump up with joy. Great, Master Xiao Fan, thank you. Xiao Fan smiled when he heard this, and did not say anything polite, and continued to guide Xiao to practice the Thunder Emperor's magic. Boom! Suddenly, a raging fire broke out in the deepest part of the wilderness. It was so intense that a bird's cry shook the sky and cracked it. The red fire was so intense that it burned the sky and collapsed. A little red bird flew across the sky with amazing power. With a boom, a golden claw came down from the dense clouds, covering the sky and grabbing the red bird with unparalleled power. Swish! The little red bird moved sideways and quickly dodged. The furry golden claw grabbed a mountain and smashed it into pieces. The rocks flew through the air. The scene was extremely terrifying. Ah, it's the little red bird I saw before. The little one was disturbed by the movement. He looked up and saw this strange scene in the distance. He couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. Xiao, the head of Xi village, also saw this strange phenomenon in the depths of the great wilderness and was stunned. What happened? Could it be that the war 2 years ago has not ended yet? The most powerful ancient species is still guarding the mountain treasure and fighting for it? It turned out that such a fierce war had taken place in the depths of the great wilderness 2 years ago. At the same time, not only the people of Xi village, but also countless people in various parts of the Fire Country and even farther away were shocked by the terrifying phenomenon. Unfortunately, after a while, a thick layer of leaden clouds appeared above the sky. A strange force isolated everything, so that the world could no longer see the strange phenomenon of the battle in the sky. Xiao Fan looked at the strange phenomenon of the battle in the sky, his eyebrows slightly raised, but he was not surprised by this. This plot is also described in the original book. This fight is for the mysterious mountain treasure in the depths of the great wilderness. The so-called mountain treasure is actually a box made of heavenly bones. It records a world-beating method with infinite power, and can control all kinds of magical powers in the world. This world-class method is the middle part of the original true solution. The swallowing bird, Zhu Yan, and the Fire Nation's sacrificial spirit Xiang fought for the mountain treasure. The terrifying battle fluctuations almost destroyed the great wilderness. But before that, a group of uninvited guests came to Xi village, which also caused some twists and turns. These are all later stories. On the third day after the destruction of village, the village chief Xiao once again found Xiao, who was practicing with Xiao Fan. "Grandpa village chief, you are here." Xiao saw Xiao coming and hurriedly greeted him. Xiao nodded to Xiao, and then saluted to Xiao Fan beside him. "Hello, Master Xiao Fan." Xiao Fan said lightly, "Is there anything I can do for you, village chief Xiao said, "It's like this. With your help 2 days ago, our village got the bodies of 3 ancient relics. Their real blood is extremely precious to most people. I want to use the real blood of these 3 ancient relics to baptize the little one. I wonder if you think it's feasible?" In the original book, Xiao decided on his own to let Xiao use the real blood of the ancient relics of Suani for baptism. Now, with Xiao Fan, the big guy, and Xiao Fan is still teaching Xiao thinks he should ask Xiao Fan for instructions, so that he will be more confident. Xiao Fan glanced at Xiao, who was looking forward to it, and smiled. Both the physique and talent of the little one are extraordinary. Although it is a little early for the baptism now, it is not a big problem. With Xiao Fan's approval, Xiao immediately became more confident. "I thought so too." In addition, if the true blood of the ancient species is retained for too long, the effect may be weakened. So I thought of baptizing the little one in advance. Xiao Fan nodded and said, "Okay, village chief just go and prepare." Xiao said again, "However, before baptizing the little one, you must first teach him the knowledge of bone writing, so that he can be baptized better." Xiao Fan naturally had no objection to this. In the following days, Xiao would take time out every day to explain the basic knowledge of bone writing to Xiao. Xiao Fan listened to some of it, and with the bonus of his heaven-defined comprehension, he easily understood it perfectly, and then pointed out Xiao from the side, which accelerated Xiao's progress a lot. In less than 10 days, Xiao's mastery of bone script was already quite impressive. Xiao and the adults in Xi village were all very surprised to learn about Xiao's speed, and believed that Xiao was a blessing from God to Xi village. Xiao and the people in Xi village were all happy to prepare for Xi's baptism, not only for Xiao, but also for other children in Xi village. A large black cauldron exuded an ancient atmosphere, with the sun, moon, mountains and rivers, birds, beasts, fish and insects, as well as scenes of ancient ancestors' sacrifices, which looked mysterious. The cauldron was filled with water, and the black dragonwood was burning underneath, and the water was boiling rapidly. There were countless precious medicines in the cauldron. The precious blood of the 3 ancient species, the Suani, the demon ape, and the Lihuo bull demon, were all injected into the cauldron. The fire was burning fiercely, and the boiling water in the cauldron was surging. The fire was fierce and the aroma was rich. The cauldron became a pale golden slurry. From time to time, There were bursts of roars from the ancient species, which were breathtaking. "Chief, there are runes on this bone, and mysterious power flows." Suddenly, Xiao, who was dismembering the Suani and injecting its precious blood into the cauldron, exclaimed. "What?" Everyone in Xi village was shocked when they heard it, and they surrounded it excitedly. After Xiao Fan confirmed the runes on the Suani bones, he couldn't help laughing. "It's been preserved, so good." There is no doubt that this is the original rune in the Suani body, or it can also be called the Suani treasure technique. After the excitement, Xiao Yan, like in the original book, asked everyone to hide the Suani bone, and then let Xiao enter the cauldron to officially start the baptism. Xiao Fan just watched this scene silently without intervening. Together with everyone in Xi village, he was waiting for Xiao, who had been reborn, to walk out of the big cauldron. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 Baptism, Amazing Transformation. Rumble. The black cauldron was shaking constantly, emitting bursts of precious light. The little one had been sealed inside for more than an hour. The lid of the cauldron was shaken open from time to time, and golden slurry splashed. The rich fragrance was intoxicating. Indistinctly, a Suani, a demon ape, and a Lihuo bull demon seemed to be about to rush out. The three beasts kept roaring horribly, and the sound was so real that it frightened the people of Xi village. The lid of the cauldron shook violently, and the people who saw it were terrified. The villagers wanted to cover it tightly several times, but they were stopped by the old patriarch. This was the medicine soul in the cauldron, the essence, and it had to be refined like this and could not be disturbed. The fragrance became stronger and stronger. The black cauldron was heavy, and there was a constant stream of divine light, rushing out from the gap in the lid of the cauldron. Through the gap, you can see the little one floating up and down inside, closing his eyes and accepting the baptism. The phantoms of three ferocious beasts ran the cauldron and even attacked Little Dot, which made the villagers outside nervous. Even the village chief Xian, although he tried his best to appear calm on the surface, was also very nervous in his heart. Seeing this, Xiao Fan chuckled and said, "Don't be nervous, believe in Little Dot, he can do it." Xian and the people of Xi village relaxed a lot after hearing Xiao Fan's words. However, they were still staring at Little Dot in the cauldron. Little Dot had a solemn appearance and was motionless. His flesh and blood were glowing. He was immersed in a strange state, regardless of anything, as if he was isolated from the outside world, and was tempering the divine light that enveloped him, refining runes in his flesh and blood, melting into rosy clouds, and turning into divine light. Every drop of blood was a rune, and each was an eternal divine furnace, emitting infinite light and nourishing himself. At this moment, his pores were dilated, and every drop of blood became a divine nature, swallowing and spitting out divine light, and it seemed that there were gods sitting inside one after another. His whole body was emitting divine light, and there were many light spots, as if countless gods were chanting, reciting scriptures, shining, and illuminating the sky. The three fierce beasts, Suani, demon ape, and Lihuo bull demon, rushed towards Xiaobudian, but were guided by the light spots on Xiaobudian's body, turning into strands of light, purified by the light spots, and melted into Xiaobudian's body. Seeing this, the people of Xi village completely put aside their worries. What a mysterious vision! Some villagers of Xi village looked at the vision around Xiaobudian and couldn't help but sigh. In the end, the big tripod also underwent a strange change under the impact of the three fierce beasts, and the flowers, plants, insects and fish on the tripod seemed to come alive. Suani, demon ape, and Lihuo bull demon were all completely refined into golden divine beams and immersed in the golden slurry in the tripod. Finally, everything calmed down. The lid of the cauldron closed again, tightly, and the outside could no longer see what was going on inside the cauldron. It was in this cauldron that Little Bit slowly underwent a transformation. In the blink of an eye, 3 days and 3 nights had passed. Finally, everything calmed down. The lid of the cauldron was knocked open, and little bit jumped more than 20 meters high and rushed into the sky. Busted, bursted, little bit screamed in his mouth, while constantly rubbing his butt. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound, and saw that little bit was now completely black, with only a pair of big eyes rolling around, very smart, and the rest of his body was covered with charcoal, like a naughty monkey. But soon, little bit actually shed a layer of old skin from his body, revealing a small white and crystal body, flowing with precious light. Next, just like in the original book, everyone in Xi village surrounded little bit in the center, pinching here and flicking there, making little bit a little shy. Little bit said anxiously, "Grandpa clan leader, Lord Xiao Fan, save me." Xi Yunfeng looked at little bit and couldn't help laughing. Xiao Fan also smiled and shook his head. "Okay, let little bit go. Let him come over and lift the tripod first, to test how strong his physical strength is now." Xi Yunfeng also echoed, "Lord Xiao Fan is right, you guys, stop making trouble." After hearing what Xiao Fan and Xi Yunfeng said, everyone let little bit go. Little bit was immediately pardoned, and quickly got rid of the group of big men who were touching him, and ran to Xiao Fan. "Get up." Little bit lifted up the 1,000 jin copper tripod, and rushed all the way, 3,000 jin, 5,000 jin, 8,000 jin, and finally reached a terrifying 12,000 jin. Hiss! When everyone in Xi village saw this scene, they couldn't help but take a breath of cold air and were completely petrified. Even Xi Yunfeng was so shocked that his eyes widened. He stretched out his hand and pinched his beard tightly, almost tearing it off. They had never heard of this kind of divine power at this age. If we only talk about physical strength, Xiao is now even stronger than some practitioners who have just entered the blood-moving realm. You know, the little one is only 3 years old now. How could the people of Xi village not be shocked by the performance of the little one? Xiao Fan looked at the divine power displayed by Xiao and raised his eyebrows slightly. Xiao Fan remembered that in the original book, after Xiao completed the baptism, his strength reached 8,000 kilograms, which shocked the people of Xi village. Today Xiao has undergone a greater transformation than in the original book, and his physical strength has increased by half compared to the original book. It is indeed extraordinary. Moreover, little Xiao has now practiced the Thunder Emperor's magic. Practitioners in the early stage of the blood-moving realm are probably no longer his opponents. After a long while, the people of Xi village came back to their senses from the shock. A group of people screamed and rushed forward, lifted up the little guy, and then pinched him up and down. Not only the big men in the village, but also some children who were not much older than Xiao, came forward and kneaded him non-stop. Little guy knew that everyone was getting close to him, although he was a little shy, but he did not use the power of his physical body to shock everyone away. Little guy's body was white and crystal. His divine light was restrained, his long black and smooth hair was scattered on his shoulders, his big eyes were smart, his spirit was full, and he was very energetic. "Child, are you feeling unwell?" After a while, the village chief Xi Yunfeng asked everyone to disperse, walked up to Xiao, and asked with concern. Little guy Xiao responded seriously, "No, I feel very good, energetic, and have endless strength." After hearing this, Xi Yunfeng laughed and was completely relieved. After a pause, Xi Yunfeng said, "All this is thanks to Lord Xiao Fan. If it weren't for Lord Xiao Fan, we might not be able to get the bodies of the 3 ancient relics, and even our lives might be in danger." Little bit said, "I know." After a pause, Little bit turned to Xiao Fan and said solemnly, "Lord Xiao Fan, thank you for your gift." Xiao Fan rubbed Little bit's head and said with a smile, "You're welcome. Moreover, even if I don't make a move, you may not be unable to obtain the bodies of the ancient relics." "Okay, now continue to baptize the other children." Xi Yunfeng and others thought that Xiao Fan was being modest, and didn't say much, but just kept this kindness in mind. Next, Xi Yunfeng presided over the baptism of other children in Xi village with the remaining 3 ancient relics of Little Bit. On this day, Xi village was howling with ghosts and wolves. Although these children gritted their teeth and endured, they were still tortured by the severe pain and cried out in pain. After all the children were baptized, Xi Yunfeng found the little Xiao alone. Chapter 312 Uninvited Guests. Of course, next to the little Xiao, There is also Xiao Fan. Little Xiao was a little curious and asked, "Grandpa village chief, do you have anything else to tell me?" Xiao Yan took out a special bone, which was the brow bone of Suan with the original rune left on it, and said solemnly, "Little one, this bone contains the magic left by Suan. Don't do anything in the next few days and remember this rune firmly in your heart, otherwise, after a while, the activity on the treasure bone will disappear, and the mysterious mark of the rune will become invisible. It will be transformed into the bone and can only become a treasure, but you can't get the magic." Suan magic. Little Xiao was surprised when he heard this, and then said seriously, "Grandpa village chief, don't worry, I will definitely remember the runes on the treasure bone." Xiao Yan nodded slightly, and then said to Xiao Fan on the side, "Lord Xiao Fan, we can't help little one with the study of Suan magic. I'm afraid I have to trouble you to guide little one." Xiao Fan nodded slightly, "No problem, I am also a little curious about what the magic left by the Suani will be like." "Thank you, Lord Xiao Fan." Xiao Yan heard, and immediately thanked Xiao Fan again. The two sides exchanged a few more polite words, and Xiao Yan said goodbye and left to sort out the things in the village. Although Shi village is not big, there are still many things to do, especially a group of children have just completed the baptism. After watching Xiao Yan leave, Xiao Fan studied the magic on the Suani bone before Xiao. Xiao Fan has a heaven-defined comprehension, and he easily comprehended the Suani magic, and then began to teach the little Xiao. Although the Suani magic is not worth mentioning in front of the Thunder Emperor's magic, the Thunder Emperor's magic is of great importance. Before Xiao grows up, it is better to use it as little as possible. This Suani magic can become Xiao's regular means in the early stage. A few days later, Xiao Fan was teaching Xiao, and suddenly sensed that there were many strange figures at the entrance of Shi village, and he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. At the entrance of Shi village, teams of strong men rushed to the mountains. They passed by this place on their way to the mountains. Among these people, there were tribes riding silver unicorns, princes and sons flying close to the ground on huge animal bones, and powerful figures sitting on Zhao and coming across the sky. The reason they came here was because they sensed the terrifying battle fluctuations that had been heard from the depths of the great wilderness, and they had some thoughts about the mountain treasures in the depths of the great wilderness. "Oh, Grandpa, look, the sacrificial spirit of this village is so strange. How come it is an old willow tree that was scorched by lightning, with only a young branch left? What a strange sacrificial spirit. It is still alive after such a situation, only a young bud is left. It must be extraordinary. After being struck by lightning, it has bred the strongest new power. It must be a rare treasure. No one can compete with me. This willow branch is mine." It's strange. It encountered a great disaster and was reborn in destruction. The only young bud must be a treasure. Do you all want to compete with me? Just try and see who is the first genius. In several different teams, there were younger children who made surprised sounds. The adults who were protecting them also had flickering expressions at this moment. These people came from the Purple Mountain Marquis Force, the Thunder Marquis Force, and Luofu Lake, but at this moment, they were all attracted by the appearance of the Willow God. Zhao Peng, the young boy from Luofu Lake, was the most impetuous. He was the first to sneer, "I'll take this willow branch." Zishan, whose youngest son was named Zishan Kun, hearing Zhao Peng's words, he said slowly, "Zhao Peng, don't talk nonsense. Even if you have some skills, don't be too arrogant. Be careful not to die in this barren land." Zhao Peng said coldly, "Then let's fight a life-and-death duel." "Do you dare? What are you arguing about? Shut up." Without waiting for Zishan Kun to respond, Lei Miniuan from another princely power, the Lei family, shouted, "Lei Miniuan, are you looking for death?" Zhao Peng and Zishan Kun saw that the person who was speaking was Lei Miniuan, and they shouted angrily. They and Lei Miniuan were old acquaintances, and their relationship was very bad. At this moment, they heard Lei Miniuan's words and their anger suddenly soared. "Let's fight to decide the winner." Lei Miniuan shouted, jumped up, head and feet, and slapped Zishan Kun with one palm. Zishan Kun was not to be outdone and directly faced Lei Miniuan's attack. Zhao Peng on the side sneered, "Who is the first genius? Don't forget, there is also me." When the voice fell, Zhao Peng also joined the battle. The three children who looked not very old at this moment were fighting with amazing power. Each of them used magic, terrifying visions, and shook the 8 directions. After the three fought for a while, they pulled the 2 children who were talking nonsense next to them into the battle. The battle between the 5 children was dazzling. When they were fighting, the children in Shi village heard the noise and popped their heads out first. Looking at the many strangers who suddenly appeared, they were all surprised and commented on the children in the battle. Afterwards, the adults of Shi village also appeared one after another. There was almost no deviation from the situation in the original book. The people of Zishanhu family, Liu family, and Luofu days were all very polite to Shi village at first. However, when they tried to find out that there seemed to be no strong people in Shi village, they immediately changed their faces. It was still the most impetuous Zhao Peng who was pushed out to test the details of Shi village. "Hey, wild boy, you are bragging too much. You still talk about chasing unicorns and killing sacrificial spirits. Aren't you afraid that the wind will blow your tongue away?" After hearing the children of Ming and Nose Baby from Shi village telling the glorious deeds of Shi village, Zhao Peng looked unfriendly, staring at Ming, Nose Baby and others, questioning them, and at the same time, his aura surged, ready to teach the children of Shi village a lesson. Xiao Fan sensed the movement in the village, and couldn't help but shook his head slightly, and said to the little one beside him, "Little one, let's go. There are some uninvited guests in the village. You go and meet them." Little Xiao was a little puzzled when he heard this, but he still nodded obediently. "Okay, Lord Xiao Fan." Xiao Fan took little Xiao with him, and soon they arrived in the village, where everyone gathered. "Hello, Lord Xiao Fan." Seeing Xiao Fan coming, everyone in Shi village saluted and greeted Xiao Fan. The strong men from all the outside forces frowned slightly when they saw this, and their eyes were filled with doubt. They carefully checked Xiao Fan's breath, but found nothing, just like an ordinary person. This made them a little confused for a while. "Who are you? Why are you bullying others?" At this time, the little Xiao saw Ming, Snotty Baby and other children from Shi village being beaten black and blue by Zhao Peng, and immediately stepped forward to block Zhao Peng, shouting angrily. Chapter 313. The little guy shows off his power, shocking outsiders. Zhao Peng looked at the little guy who was blocking him and sneered, "So what if he bullied people?" Ming shouted, "Little guy, this guy is too much. He came to our village and bullied our people. You have to help us get revenge and teach him a lesson." Zhao Peng said disdainfully, "Teach me a lesson? Just him? I want to see what this little guy you are so optimistic about is capable of." After that, Zhao Peng punched the little guy Xiao directly. Xiao didn't want to conflict with others, but Zhao Peng's attack was too fast. If he avoided it, Ming and the snotty kid behind him would suffer, so he had to block it. Bang! Xiao's tender little hand collided with Zhao Peng's fist, and a dull collision sound was made. The next moment, in the shocked eyes of the several major forces from the outside world, Zhao Peng's body flew backwards uncontrollably, and blood gushed out of his mouth. Zhao Peng, Zhao Kang, the leader of Luofu Lake, saw this scene. His face changed, he shouted worriedly, and his figure flashed, and he quickly rushed forward to catch Zhao Peng who was flying backwards. "Good boy, you dare to use such a heavy hand." Zhao Kang put Zhao Peng aside, and looked at Xiao with a cold look in his eyes. Little Xiao said apologetically, I didn't mean it. I saw that Big Brother's attack was fierce, so I only used 50% of my strength. I should have used only 20% of my strength." "You bastard!" Puff. Zhao Peng was stimulated and furious when he heard what little Xiao said. He spurted out a mouthful of blood again, stared at Xiao with red eyes, and wished to tear him into pieces. The other people from the surrounding forces also widened their eyes and were surprised when they saw this scene. "Wow, this porcelain doll has such great power." The twin girls from Yunshan Palace on the side couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when they saw Xiao's performance. Originally, they wanted to go up and pin Xiao's porcelain doll-like appearance. At this moment, they saw Xiao injured Zhao Peng with one blow, and they couldn't help but be greatly surprised. "Is it a natural supernatural power?" The old man from Yunshan Palace also looked a little stern. "Zhao Peng, you are not good enough. but you were blown away by a little baby with one punch. At this time, Zikun, who had fought with Zhao Peng before, ridiculed Zhao Peng. Lei Minyuan also sneered, "You wanted to compete for the first genius before." Zhao Peng heard the ridicule and taunting of his two opponents, and was immediately furious. "Asshole, I was just careless just now. Moreover, even if this wild boy has strong physical strength, he will only die after I use my magic." After that, Zhao Peng took the initiative to break away from Zhao Kang and slowly walked towards Xiao. "You wild boy, relying on your brute force. Do you really think you are invincible? Today, I will let you see what strength is." Little Xiao hurriedly said, "I never said I was invincible, and I don't want to fight you." Zhao Peng sneered, "I don't want to fight now, it's not up to you." After the voice fell, Zhao Peng slightly stretched out his palm, and an ancient character appeared in his palm, dazzling and bright, reflecting the sky. With a bang, the murderous aura was filled, and a gray-brown fierce dragon emerged from the rune and pounced on the little one. Seeing this scene, Xiao Fan, who was standing by, shook his head slightly and said to Xiao, "Little one, since they insist on you taking action, you should let them see it. In the way of cultivation, it is not a good thing to give in blindly." When Xiao heard Xiao Fan's words, his heart was immediately settled. "Yes, Master Xiao Fan," he agreed respectfully, and then his right hand slashed in the air, a silver light fell, and a moon appeared, reflecting the brilliant trays of light, blocking in front of him. The gray dragon was fierce, as thick as a water tank, with dense scales, carrying a sense of vicissitudes and antiquity, as if it had crossed time and space from ancient times to participate in the battle. Boom! A silver moon turned in front of little one, and the spirit between heaven and earth surged, turning into an ocean. It seemed to rise in the vast sea, carrying a vast divine power, and slashed at the gray dragon. This was a duel of treasures. In the violent collision with the gray dragon, the silver moon was blazing, the brilliance was overflowing, and it was splashing everywhere. The gray dragon also danced across the universe, tumbling up and down, spewing out one piece of blazing light after another. The nearby trees and rocks kept making crackling sounds and broke one after another. With a light cry, the silver moon divine light became stronger, and a fierce bird rushed out from it. Its figure suddenly swelled, like a cloud, stretching across the battlefield, with a terrifying ferocity. The fierce bird was extremely terrifying, and it easily grabbed the gray dragon, and then pulled it hard with its claws. With a bang, the gray fierce dragon turned into a stream of light, quickly dissipated, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. What kind of magic is this? So powerful. How could such a powerful magic appear in this remote and deserted village? That fierce bird seems to be some ancient beast. Is it the swallowing sky bird, or the blue sky peng? Zhao Kang, the old man from the Yunshan Palace, and the adults from various forces were all surprised at this moment. They were shocked that Xiao used such a magic. Xiao Fan looked at these people who looked like they had never seen the world, and couldn't help but smile and shook his head. This was just the most basic green-scaled eagle magic that Xiao had mastered, and it shocked them greatly. If Xiao had used the Thunder Emperor magic, wouldn't these people have been frightened to death? The magic attack failed, and Zhao Peng's injuries suddenly worsened, and his face became even uglier. Xiao ignored Zhao Peng's thoughts, and directly raised a huge millstone, and smashed it down hard on Zhao Peng's head. Zhao Peng had no time to dodge, and was hit directly by the millstone, and couldn't help but let out a painful scream. Although Zhao Peng's body was not weak, it was unbearable to be covered by such a huge millstone on his face. With a puff, he spit out a mouthful of blood foam, and then spit out 2 broken teeth. His whole face was distorted because of the pain. The little guy controlled the strength and did not take Zhao Peng's life. On the one hand, Xiao had not experienced too many bloody battles, so he had a kind heart. On the other hand, Xiao was also worried that killing Zhao Peng would bring trouble to Shi village. After all, those strangers at the entrance of the village all looked very powerful. Chirp! Suddenly, a few chirps were heard, and the 3 young birds, Doupo, Xiaoxiao, and Zhen, raised in Shi village, came from behind the village with their wings flapping, rushing towards the little one. These 3 young birds look very extraordinary. If we can catch and tame them." Seeing the 3 young birds that suddenly appeared, Zishan Kun from the Zishanhu family suddenly had a light in his eyes. Lei Minyuan also took off his bow and arrow, eager to try. Zhao Kang, the strong men of the Zishanhu family, and the strong men of the Lei family watched this scene, but did not intervene. They saw from the 3 young birds the shadow of the fierce bird that Xiao had just revealed when he performed the magic, and seemed to think that they had found a way to practice the powerful magic. Chapter 314, 1 against 3, Bloodbath in Shi Village. Don't hurt Zun and the others. When Little Bit saw Lei Minyuan and Zi Kunshan preparing to attack the 3 young birds, he shouted angrily and blocked the 2. Zi Kunshan sneered, "Do you think that you can stop all of us just because you defeated Zhao Peng?" Lei Minyuan ignored Little Bit and directly bent his bow and shot at the 3 young birds. Little Bit was furious when he saw this. He raised a large tripod and suddenly intercepted the arrow in the direction where it came from. Dang! With a light sound, the arrow was blocked by the tripod. "You 2 come here too." Little Bit pointed at Zi Kunshan and Lei Minyuan, and then said to Zhao Peng on the other side, "You 3 come together." A group of people were stunned. The strong men of Zishan, Lei family, and Luo Fudays were all a little dumbfounded. That was a genius in their clan. He came to a mountain village and actually needed to join forces to fight a 2 or 3-year-old child. "You want to fight the 3 of us alone? You don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is." Lei Minyuan stood aside, with a cold smile on his face, and said, "The strong body does not mean anything. In this world, the magic is the strongest. Without supernatural powers, how strong can the flesh and blood body be?" Little Bit said calmly, "Who is strong and who is weak, we will know it after the battle." Buzz. This time, Little Bit chose to take the initiative, and rushed to Zishan Kun, who was also very hostile, and slapped out with one palm. The palm and fingers were shiny and crystal, like a divine jade. "Come on, let me try how strong your pure physical strength is." Zishan Kun shouted and also met Little Bit's attack. Afterwards, Zhao Peng and Lei Minyuan on the side finally joined the battle. 3 geniuses from major forces joined forces to besiege Little Bit at the same time. However, after a battle, everyone was shocked. With his own strength, Little Bit crushed 3 geniuses, Zhao Peng, Zishan Kun and Lei Minyuan. All 3 were beaten by Little Bit and had bruises and wounds all over their bodies, especially Zhao Peng, who was hit in the face by the millstone again. Both sides of his face were deformed, but it was quite symmetrical. Seeing this scene, Zhao Kang, a strong man from Luofu Lake, immediately frowned and planned to deal with Little Bit Xiao. "Brother Zhao Kang, what are you doing? Didn't you say that a few children were throwing tantrums before? Just fight them. There is no need for adults to get involved." At this time, the old man from Yunshan Palace on the side stopped him. "That's right, it's just a fight between a few children. Why get angry?" The leader of the Golden Wolf tribe also spoke up to persuade him. Then, in the surprised eyes of others, the leader of the Golden Wolf tribe took the lead in inviting Little Bit to become a disciple of the Golden Wolf tribe. Seeing this, other forces secretly cursed the leader of the Golden Wolf tribe for being cunning, and also proposed to recruit Little Bit. However, not everyone was like this. Zhao Kang, a strong man from Luofu Lake, sneered and said, "Why be so hypocritical? The people of Luofu Lake just want to get the Suan Ni bone. This village will definitely not be able to protect it." After Zhao Kang, many other strong men echoed, "Well, that's right. The Suan Ni bone is not something that a village can keep. It's better to hand it over." That makes sense. Leaving the Suan Ni bone in the village will only bring disaster to their clan. We are doing this for their own good. Not only the Suan Ni bone, but also the 3 ferocious beast chicks should not belong to them. These people did not take the people of Shi village seriously at all. In front of everyone in Shi village, they were discussing how to deal with the things that were divided up in Shi village, as if it was justified. When everyone in Shi village heard these words, they were very angry, but at the same time they felt a little powerless. Facing these strong men, they, Shi village, had no power to fight back at all. Perhaps, they still have to rely on Lord Xiao Fan. But I don't know if Lord Xiao Fan will offend these big forces for them. Uncle, The Suani treasure bone belongs to our village, and Dapeng, Zioking, and Zun are my partners." The little one's eyes were clear, his voice was crisp, and he said seriously, which immediately made the scene silent, "If you don't want to be exterminated, it's better to hand it over." A strong man from a big family spoke up, full of threats. "Yours? When Shi village no longer exists, it will be ownerless." Zhao Peng, who recovered and wiped off the blood, said viciously. Zhao Peng was very violent, and shouted at the flying dragon hovering in the air, "Uncle Zhao, go and swallow those wild children, especially the arrogant boy just now, tear his bones, leave a breath, and send it to me." A dull roar came, and the flying dragon lowered its huge head in the air, staring at the children at the head of the village, with a grim look in his eyes and murderous aura. Seeing this, Xiao Fan shook his head slightly, stepped forward and stood in front of the little guy, and said lightly, "I can ignore the fight between children, but now, you want to rob the village and want to destroy Shi village. Isn't it a bit too much?" Zhao Peng jumped up, sat on the back of the flying dragon, gritted his teeth and said, "So what if I bully you? If you dare to resist, your village will be massacred immediately." Xiao Fan ignored Zhao Peng, but looked at Zhao Kang and the leaders of various forces, and said lightly, "Is this what you adults mean?" Zhao Kang of Luofu Lake looked indifferent and said, "Hand over the bones of Suani and offer 3 young birds, otherwise this village may be removed from the list." The old man from Yunshan Palace looked at Xiao Fan, and for some reason he felt an inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. He smiled and said, "This is not the intention of this old man." After that, the old man stepped aside with 2 identical little girls. Xiao Fan glanced at the old man from Yunshan Palace, and then looked at the others again. "What about the rest of you? Do you choose to go all the way like Luofu Lake, or retreat temporarily like Yunshan Palace?" "Boy, why are you pretending? I want to see what you are capable of, daring to pretend here." "That's right, we want the Suani treasure bone. Not only the Suani treasure bone, but also the 3 ferocious beast young birds. They must be handed over, otherwise the village will be massacred." Most of the people in the crowd were Zhao Kang from Luofu Lake, who made the same choice, and looked at Xiao Fan with disdain. However, there were also a few cautious people who chose to temporarily retreat to the side of Yunshan Palace, preparing to wait and see for a while before making plans. Xiao Fan looked at the 2 clearly divided groups of people and couldn't help but laugh. "Very good, it seems that everyone has made a choice. In this case, it's time to end this farce." Rumble. When Xiao Fan's voice fell, everyone suddenly heard a thunderous sound that shook the earth. Within a radius of hundreds of miles, everything suddenly darkened at the same time, as if the sky was collapsing. Chapter 315. Terrifying thunder. The 4 major forces take action. Boom. Thunder roared in succession. Thunder continued to fall from the dark sky. In a flash, a sea of thunder was formed in the area of hundreds of miles. Xiao Fan stood in the center of the sea of thunder. As he wished, the terrifying thunder energy in the sea of thunder attacked Zhao Kang of Luofu Lake, the leader of the Golden Wolf tribe, and other powerful people from various forces at the same time. "What kind of magic is this? It's so terrifying." The remaining people who did not participate in the battle also looked stern at this moment. They couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise, and secretly felt lucky that they didn't rush out before. Zhao Kang and other people who were attacked by thunder changed their faces. Before they could react, they turned into ashes under the bombardment of the terrifying thunder. In an instant, all those who had ill intentions towards Shi village were crushed to ashes, including the so-called geniuses, Zhao Peng, Zi Kunshan and Lei Menyuan. Then, the surrounding sea of thunder disappeared instantly, as if everything just now was just a dream. Hiss. Those who did not participate in the fight could not help but take a breath of cold air at this moment, and were extremely grateful in their hearts. Fortunately, they were not as reckless as Zhao Kang and others. The old man in Yunshan Palace was also in a state of shock at this time. He subconsciously pinched the long beard under his chin with his palm and tore off a lot of beard. After dealing with Zhao Kang and others, Xiao Fan restrained his breath again, like an ordinary person, looking at the remaining Yunshan Palace and others, and said lightly, "Shi village is located in the wilderness and has always been at peace with the world. But it does not mean that anyone can bully it. Anyone who dares to have a bad intention towards Shi village will end up like this. The old man in Yunshan Palace was the first to respond. I have never had any hostility towards Shi village. Then, others also spoke up, as if they were afraid that Xiao Fan would be unhappy and kill them all. Yes, we are the same. We have never had any hostility towards Shi village. Yes, yes, yes. We are just very envious that there are amazing geniuses in Shi village, and there are strong people like you, sir. Whoever is the enemy of Shi village is also our enemy. Xiao Fan naturally did not believe a word of what these people said, but he was too lazy to care about anything. He waved his hand and said, "Okay, Shi village likes tranquility and does not want to be disturbed. Please go ahead." "Yes, we will leave now." Upon hearing this, the old man from Yunshan Palace quickly spoke up, and then took the two twin girls and left quickly. Then, the others also said goodbye to Xiao Fan and left. After those uninvited guests left, everyone in Shi village knelt down and saluted Xiao Fan again. "Thank you, Sir Xiao Fan. Your great kindness will be remembered by us in Shi village forever." At this moment, everyone in Shi village was extremely grateful to Xiao Fan, and at the same time, they also felt a little awe in their hearts. Xiao Fan's terrifying method of changing the sky and causing thunder just now was too shocking. Xiao Fan said lightly, "No need to be polite, and tell the villagers not to leave the village too far recently. The forces before are expected to send people to seek revenge." "Yes, Lord Xiao Fan," everyone responded in unison. At the same time, with the departure of Yunshan Palace and others, the things that happened in Shi village also spread all over the surrounding area at lightning speed. Recently, many people from various forces have gathered in this vast mountain range because of the movement of fighting for mountain treasures from the depths of the wilderness. After hearing what happened in Shi village, they were shocked. What? In a remote mountain village, a terrifying strong man appeared and killed the people of the Purple Mountain Clan, the Thunder Clan, the Golden Wolf Tribe and the Luofu Lake? This is too exaggerated. Those four major forces are not easy to deal with. I am afraid that after the four major forces learn about this, they will definitely come to retaliate. I am afraid that the small mountain village will be wiped out. It's hard to say. I heard from the people who were there that there was a very terrifying strong man in the village called Shi village. He could trigger the Sea of Thunder with a wave of his hand. His strength is extremely terrifying. No matter how terrifying he is, can he be stronger than the leaders of the four major forces, especially the Purple Mountain Marquis? He is an extremely powerful existence. We will know when the time comes. Thousands of miles away from the Kangmang Mountains, in a place with a building complex, a golden tent stands in the center of the tribe, with a golden wolf head embroidered on it. Majestic and ferocious. This is the home of the Golden Wolf Tribe. In the big tent embroidered with a golden wolf head, a tall old man, his eyes opened and closed, golden light flashed, frightening people. His face was full of anger at the moment. "Asshole, someone is so bold that he dared to kill my people from the Golden Wolf Tribe. He is really looking for death." This person is the chief of the Golden Wolf Tribe, and elder of the Golden Wolf Tribe, and the tent said, "I heard that many people from the Purple Mountain Tribe, the Thunder Tribe and the Luofu Lake were also killed. I don't know what kind of strength the existence in that village has." The chief of the Golden Wolf Tribe looked stern, but said, "No matter what, this revenge must be avenged. However, for the sake of safety, I will ask the God Wolf to go with me." The God Wolf that the chief of the Golden Wolf Tribe mentioned is the sacrificial spirit of their tribe, an extremely ferocious wolf beast. The same thing happened in other big tribes. The leaders of the three forces, the Thunder Tribe, the Purple Mountain Tribe, and the Luofu Lake, all made the same decision, that is, to go to Shi village to avenge their dead tribesmen. Especially, their respective talented children also died tragically in Shi village this time, which made them unbearable. Within a few days, all the big tribes within a radius of 50,000 miles were shocked. They learned that a powerful and daring person appeared in a small village called Shi village in Kangmang Mountains, and provoked the four major forces at the same time. Moreover, the leaders of the four major forces attacked the small village at the same time. For a time, Almost all the forces within a radius of 50,000 miles were boiling. A few days later, the area near Kangmang Mountains was no longer quiet. Someone saw the head of a large tribe, who actually came to this land in person, which surprised those strong men who came for the mountain treasure. A golden whirlwind broke through the primitive forest, frightening many ferocious birds and beasts, and they fled quickly, and the mountain area suddenly became quiet. A tall and mighty old man stood on the high ground, looking at the stone village, and said to himself, "Is that the stone village? Why do I feel like I can't see through it?" Next to him was a golden divine wolf, not very tall, only 1.5 meters long, and far less massive than some of the green wolves in the forest. The divine wolf stared at the direction of the stone village, with a terrifying aura and flickering eyes. Almost at the same time, the lord of the Thunder Clan, the Marquis of Zishan, and the lord of Luofu Lake also came not far from the stone village, but they were not in a hurry to enter the village. "Since you're here, why don't you come in? Do you still want me to invite you in?" At this moment, a clear voice came out from the small stone village. Chapter 316 Kill the enemy with one move and beg for mercy. Although the voice was light, it was clearly heard by the 4 people of Zishan. Even everyone in the entire Kangmang Mountains heard the clear voice. In some wilderness areas close to Shi village, the beasts in the mountains and forests all subconsciously fled in all directions, as if there was something terrifying in Shi village. When the 4 people of Zishan heard the voice, their faces changed drastically, and a chill rose in their hearts inexplicably. Awu, the sacrifice wolf of the Golden Wolf tribe, let out a low roar and quietly retreated, wanting to leave directly. Seeing this scene, the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe's face changed slightly, and whispered, "Lord God Wolf, what are you doing?" The God Wolf ignored him, just wanting to escape from this place. But at this moment, a handsome young man in a green shirt appeared silently in front of the God Wolf and said lightly, "Since you're here, it's not good to leave without saying hello." There is no doubt that the person who came was Xiao Fan. "Woo, I'm just passing by, please let me go." The divine wolf looked at Xiao Fan with fear in its eyes, and begged for mercy. The chief of the Golden Wolf tribe changed his face and was shocked to the extreme. Suddenly, the so-called divine wolf kicked the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe. Bang! The chief of the Golden Wolf tribe was shocked by the scene in front of him, and he didn't expect that the sacrificial spirit of their tribe would attack him. He was not careful for a moment and was kicked away by the divine wolf. The direction he flew was where Xiao Fan was standing. After kicking the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe away, the divine wolf suddenly turned into a golden stream of light and fled into the distance. In the vast mountains, the crowd hiding in the distance watching the battle saw this scene, and their eyes widened, their faces full of disbelief. What is going on? The strongest sacrificial spirit within a radius of 50,000 miles was actually scared away. Besides, before escaping, it kicked out the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe as a shield. Isn't that too outrageous? Is that young man really that scary? Not only the onlookers around, but also Zishan, Lei, and the lord of Luofu Lake were all stunned at this moment. They also had some understanding of the strength of the divine wolf. Even the strongest Zishan did not dare to say that he could be sure to defeat it. But now, the performance of the divine wolf was too bad, right? But soon, they understood why the divine wolf ran away so embarrassedly. Bang! The chief of the Golden Wolf tribe, who was kicked away by the divine wolf, suddenly exploded on the spot before his body flew within 1 meter in front of Xiao Fan, and his flesh and blood flew everywhere, looking very scary. The next moment, a terrifying black vortex emerged from Xiao Fan's palm, and an extremely terrifying devouring force emanated from the vortex. Whoosh! It seemed like a hurricane passed by, and countless rocks and trees in the surrounding area were swallowed up by the black vortex in an instant. Then, the golden wolf that had escaped hundreds of miles away was also swallowed up by the black vortex while howling in fear. As for the other animals and creatures that were not swallowed along the way, it was because they had already fled this area before Xiao Fan left Shi village. The chief of the Golden Wolf tribe, and the strongest sacrificial spirit within a radius of 50,000 miles, are gone just like that? What on earth was that terrifying black vortex just now? It's really terrifying. Fortunately, the strong man from Xi village didn't attack the rest of us, otherwise, I feel that we, the onlookers, would not be able to escape at all. Yes, it seems that the strong man is a person who clearly distinguishes between gratitude and resentment. While the onlookers around were rejoicing, Zishan Hu, Leihun the owner of Luofu Lake were pale and didn't even dare to escape. At first, they came in anger, wanting to kill Xiao Fan to avenge their tribe, and even completely destroy Xi village. After seeing the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe being killed, they thought about running away. However, when they saw that even the strongest sacrificial spirit within a radius of 50,000 miles, who escaped hundreds of miles away, was still destroyed by Xiao Fan's terrifying means, they suddenly didn't even dare to run away. I didn't know that you were meditating here. We came here to disturb you. Please forgive me. Zishan Tu lowered his proud head and took the initiative to bow to Xiao Fan, hoping to get a chance to live. Leihe followed closely and begged for mercy from Xiao Fan. Please forgive me. The Thunder Clan is willing to make amends. Seeing this, the owner of Luofu Lake immediately surrendered. Silence. In the Kangmang Mountains, countless onlookers were all silent when they saw this scene. Unexpectedly, several powerful people who were almost at the top of the 50,000-mile area in the past would be so humble and beg for mercy in front of Xiao Fan. It was really incredible. However, thinking back to how Fan easily destroyed the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe in the method of offering sacrifice to the spirit of the Divine Wolf, they felt that this seemed very reasonable. The old man from Yunshan Palace was also in the crowd. He was also shocked at this time and secretly thanked himself for making the right choice before. Grandpa, that big brother is so powerful. The twin girls from Yunshan Palace looked at Xiao Fan with admiration in their eyes. At this moment, everyone was shocked by Xiao Fan, and they were secretly thinking in their hearts that they must not provoke this mysterious Shikun in the future. Moreover, when they go back, they will tell their relatives and friends about what happened today and warn them not to provoke Shikun. Xiao Fan smiled at the three people who bowed their heads and said with a faint smile, "You are quite sensible, but this one from Luofu Lake, you should go down and accompany the genius of your clan." The first so-called genius who attacked Shikun was Zhao Peng from Luofu Lake, and then Zhao Kang from Luofu Lake also took the lead in attacking Shikun. Xiao Fan had a very bad impression of Luofu Lake. Hearing Xiao Fan's words, Zishanhu and Leihu were relieved, but the owner of Luofu Lake suddenly changed his face. Roar! Suddenly, the roar of a ferocious beast came from the mouth of the master of Luofu Lake. Since Xiao Fan was not going to let him go, he would no longer pretend to be anything and would make a final counterattack before death. His whole body was shining brightly, and he urged his blood essence to transform into a giant dragon, which slowly broke free from his back and coiled on the mountain. It looked terrifying. After the dragon broke free from his spine, it quickly enlarged. It was a foot thick and more than 200 feet long. It was terrifying, surrounded by gray mist, and huge runes emerged and flickered in the void. Ooh! The fierce dragon roared, shaking the surrounding areas in chaos, rocks rolling down, and leaves flying wildly. Chapter 317, Disposal and Sincerity. Movements in the depths of the great wilderness. Shut up! Xiao Fan shouted, opened his right hand, and an illusory giant hand of thunder appeared again, instantly grabbing the fierce dragon. Bang! In an instant, the fierce dragon was crushed by the terrifying giant hand of thunder, making a terrifying sonic boom. Under the aftermath of the explosion, the surrounding areas of Xi village suffered a terrible blow. The mountains and forests disappeared, rocks flew, and the earth cracked. Then, Xiao Fan was too lazy to talk nonsense, and casually sent out a thunder sword light, killing the Lord of Luofu Lake on the spot. Hiss! Seeing that Xiao Fan had killed the Lord of Luofu Lake so casually, the onlookers couldn't help but take a breath of cold air again. Even Leihu and Zishanhu couldn't help but tremble in their hearts at this moment. They were not much stronger than the Lord of Luofu Lake. If Xiao Fan attacked them, there would be no other ending for them. At this moment, they couldn't help but feel very fortunate in their hearts. Fortunately, they had made a wise choice just now and bowed their heads to beg for mercy from Xiao Fan in advance. After easily dealing with the Lord of Luofu Lake, Xiao Fan looked at Lei Hu and Zishan again, and said lightly, "As for you, you should at least show some sincerity." Zishan hurriedly said, "I don't know what the master wants us to do." Lei Hu said, "As long as the master has an order, we will definitely obey it." Xiao Fan casually said, "Don't be nervous, it's very simple. You two will take action and completely destroy the Golden Wolf tribe in Luofu Lake, and hand over all their respective resources. In addition, the resources of the Zishan clan and the Thunder clan should also be half." Shu. Hearing Xiao Fan's words, Zishan and Lei Hu's faces changed immediately. They naturally had no objection to letting them destroy the Golden Wolf tribe in Luofu Lake. Anyway, now the Lord of Luofu Lake, the chief of the Golden Wolf tribe, and the strongest sacrificial spirit within a radius of 50,000 miles have all been killed by Xiao Fan. With their joint efforts, it is not difficult to destroy the two forces. In fact, they originally planned to take the opportunity to destroy the two forces and annex their cultivation resources. However, they did not expect that Xiao Fan would take a step ahead to target the resources of the two forces, and even wanted them to contribute half of their cultivation resources. This made them very painful. Xiao Fan looked at the changing expressions of the two people and said lightly, "Why, you don't want to?" Upon hearing this, Lei Hu and Zishan quickly suppressed their thoughts and said respectfully, "I will obey your order." Lei Hu and Zishan knew very well that they had no choice at all. If they refused Xiao Fan, there would be only one outcome. Moreover, their respective forces would most likely be destroyed by Xiao Fan. Between the death of the family and the loss of half of the cultivation resources, they still knew the importance. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "Very good, you guys go ahead and do it now. I'll give you 1 month. If you fail to complete it, I'll have to come to your house in person. We will definitely complete the adult's task. I'll take my leave." Lei Hu and Zishan didn't dare to shirk their responsibilities after hearing what Xiao Fan said. They agreed respectfully and left quickly. At this moment, countless onlookers in the vast mountains were shocked to see the leaders of the four tribes coming in with such momentum. But in the end, they ended up like this. Xiao Fan didn't deliberately conceal his conversation with Zishan and Lei Hu, so the onlookers around also heard it. Everyone understood that this area was about to change. The old man in Yunshan Palace also looked solemn. He hurried back with his 2 granddaughters and several men, ready to warn his tribesmen not to provoke Shi village. The movements around the forest naturally couldn't be hidden from Xiao Fan's perception, but he didn't intervene. After everyone had dispersed, Xiao Fan returned to Shi village. "Master Xiao Fan, I don't know how to thank you. You have saved our entire village again." Shi Yan spoke with gratitude when he saw Xiao Fan coming back. Xiao Fan waved his hand and said, "It's just a small matter. There's no need to be so polite. Even if I don't do anything, your sacrificial spirit Willow God will help you solve these enemies." Upon hearing this, Shi Yan couldn't help but look at the dark and ancient willow tree on the side. But the willow tree didn't move. Xiao Fan ignored Shi Yan's thoughts and continued, "In the depths of the wilderness, a fierce battle is taking place now. There are 4 extremely powerful beasts there. Any one of them is enough to destroy an area of tens of thousands of miles." "Master Xiao Fan, what do you mean?" Upon hearing this, Shi Yan's face suddenly changed, and he had an ominous premonition in his heart. Xiao Fan said calmly, "These 4 beasts are fighting for the mountain treasures in the depths of the great wilderness, and they don't want the news to be leaked out. I'm afraid they will attack all the creatures within a radius of tens of thousands of miles." When Shi Yan heard what Xiao Fan said, his heart was even more trembling. He was right. "Sir, what should we do?" Xiao Fan said, "Don't worry, I will deal with these beasts. As for you, stay in the village for the time being and don't leave the village before I come back." "Sir Xiao Fan, although I may be worrying too much, I still want to say that if it is too dangerous, why don't we evacuate here in advance?" After hearing this, Shi Yan hesitated for a moment and said to Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan chuckled and said, "Don't worry, those 4 beasts may be respected in this area of tens of thousands of miles, but they are nothing in front of me. Well, you just need to know about this matter. I'll leave first." At this time, Xiao Fan had already sensed that the battle in the depths of the great wilderness was becoming more and more intense. Xiao Fan decided to take the so-called mountain treasure and deal with the swallowing sky bird and Kaiamkai. Those two beasts were cruel and brutal. They had killed countless humans. They really deserved to die. As for the vermilion bird and the vermilion yen, they could be subdued and add a layer of strength to Xi village. After this incident, Xiao Fan was ready to leave the perfect world and return to the Qi world. Before leaving, he would give Xihao and Xi village another gift. Thinking in his heart, Xiao Fan casually laid a space barrier around Xi village, and then flew directly to the depths of the great wilderness. At this time, in the depths of the great wilderness, it was not peaceful. Wisps of mist rose up, and the scenery in the mountains was blurred, as if it was a chaos. A huge figure emerged, surrounded by thick mist, and the true body could not be seen clearly. But the terrifying breath it exuded shook the sky and the earth. The mountains and valleys were shaking, and the birds and beasts all lay on the ground, trembling and bowing. Here, it stood upright, and it was unknown how many miles high, rising into the clouds. Its eyes were dark green, like two lakes embedded in the sky, with a diameter of several miles. Such green eyes were really huge and terrifying, and the murderous roar was shocking. This terrifying creature was none other than Xiaoxiao, one of the four extremely powerful beasts. "This holy object is mine," Xiaoxiao made a low voice, as dull as thunder, shaking the mountains to the point of collapse, and the endless ferocious beasts in the distant mountains were trembling. Boom! What responded to it was a huge iron rod. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318. Seize the mountain treasure with one hand and kill the evil with a snap of a finger. The iron rod was as thick as a pillar supporting the sky, sweeping across. The wind whistled, the rocks flew, and the clouds surged. This blow was like the destruction of the world. The world was pierced. The one who attacked Xiaoxiao was Zhu Yan, one of the four beasts. With a dull roar, the fierce aura swept through the 9 heavens. Xiaoxiao stretched out a big claw, covering the sky and the earth, enough to cover several mountains, flashing with cold light, and extremely sharp. Dang! The big claw and the iron rod collided above the clouds. The sky seemed to be torn apart, the clouds and mist dissipated, all kinds of rosy clouds burst out, and the strongest magic burst out, drowning the world. The aftermath of the battle between the two is that I don't know how many unfortunate beasts in the mountains were killed. In the sky, one piece of strange bones fell after another. Some were red like blood diamonds, some were black like ink, and some were crystal white. All of them were shining with precious light. All of them were strange precious bones. This is Zhu Yan's plan to use the precious bones of the ancient species to set up a ban to prevent the entire mountain range from being destroyed by them. Womanly kindness. Xiaoxiao snorted coldly, and it opened its mouth and spewed out a terrifying light, which directly swept the sky and the earth. If it weren't for the precious bones just now to suppress the vast mountains, all living things would be destroyed. In response to Xiaoxiao, it was Zhu Yan's terrifying iron stick attack. While Xiaoxiao and Zhu Yan were fighting, in another part of the mountain range, Zhuke and a swallowing bird also started a fierce battle. Zhu Yan had fought with Zhuke before, and both of them were not in their peak state at the moment. Despite this, they were still fighting hard with their respective opponents. The terrifying battle of the four beasts directly alarmed the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. The Thunder Clan, the Purple Mountain Clan, the Golden Wolf Tribe, the Luofu Great Lake and other forces all noticed the terrifying movement and were immediately shocked. What a horrible battle! Those four beasts are too scary. Could it be that the mountain treasure is about to appear and they are starting the final decisive battle? Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's run away. If we are accidentally affected by the aftermath of their battle, I'm afraid there is only one way to go. Countless people were all shocked by the horrible movement and their faces turned pale. While making panic sounds, they desperately fled to the outside of the Mangkang Mountains. Boom! Suddenly, a shocking sound came from the center of the Kangkang Mountains. The rocks flew through the air and broke apart. The chaotic energy spread and swept across the entire mountain range. There was a fairy light rushing into the sky, and the auspicious air was surging, as if it had come to the time before the creation of the world, as if a chaotic treasure had appeared, constantly rising and falling, shaking the entire wilderness. The mountain treasure has appeared. At this moment, no one needed to say more. Everyone knew that it must be the mysterious mountain treasure that had appeared. Deep in the mountains, the battle between the four terrifying beasts became more intense because of the appearance of the mountain treasure. Roar! The terrifying roar of the beast shook the depths of the wilderness. All the beasts in the mountains and forests involuntarily lay on the ground, their limbs limp. Amid the roars, the four terrifying beasts were fighting to the point of white hot. The rosy clouds were overflowing, the auspicious air was flowing, and the unearthed artifact was floating. The four creatures did not immediately seize it, but fought against their opponents. "Since none of you want this treasure, I will accept it with pleasure." At this moment, a clear voice suddenly sounded in the depths of the wilderness. As the voice fell, a handsome young man in a green shirt appeared silently next to the rosy artifact and took it in his hand. The rosy clouds converged slightly, and it turned out to be an ancient box inside, which was made of heavenly bones. The young man was naturally Xiao Fan, who came from Shi village. Seeing Xiao Fan suddenly appear and snatch the mountain treasure away, the four fierce beasts immediately stopped fighting each other and surrounded Xiao Fan from four angles. "Hand over the mountain treasure." Kai glared at Xiao Fan, and a rumbling sound came out of his mouth, shaking the entire vast mountain range. The swallowing sky bird was full of cold murderous intent. "Human, this mountain treasure is not for you to take." Zhu Yan and Zuk also stared at Xiao Fan covetously. Xiao Fan smiled lightly and said, "If you want the mountain treasure, it depends on your ability." Chirp! A sharp cry sounded, and the fiery red Zuk soared into the sky. Although it was not big, its power was unparalleled. It rushed towards the mountain treasure in Xiao Fan's hand at an extremely fast speed. Roar! The swallowing skybird roared loudly, and the terrifying sound shook the mountains and rivers. Its huge wings crossed the sky, like a dark cloud covering the sky. A pair of huge claws reached down and grabbed the mountain treasure in Xiao Fan's hand. Almost at the same time, Kai and Zhu Yan also grabbed the mountain treasure in Xiao Fan's hand. Before, the four fierce beasts did not attack the mountain treasure because they were afraid of the other three fierce beasts. They planned to repel the opponent first, and then snatch the mountain treasure. Now, the mountain treasure has fallen into the hands of Xiao Fan, a human, which is unacceptable to them. Facing the attack of the four fierce beasts, Xiao Fan remained calm and smiled. "You want to take the mountain treasure now? It's too late." When the voice fell, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly put the skybone box into the ring. At the same time, his body flashed slightly, and he instantly avoided the attack of the four fierce beasts. Dang-dang, clank-clang. Xiao Fan's figure suddenly left the center of the four fierce beasts, and the attacks of the four fierce beasts suddenly collided with each other, making a terrifying sound, shaking the entire Kang Mountains. Boom! The aftermath of the fight between the four fierce beasts directly broke the band that Zhu Yan had set up with the original treasure bone before, and the entire Kang Mountain seemed to collapse instantly. Seeing this scene, Zhu Yan and Zuk looked slightly stern, and a hint of hesitation flashed in their eyes. Kai and Tanshin K didn't care about this at all. They roared and rushed towards Xiao Fan again. "Stop!" Xiao Fan looked at the Kang Mountains that were about to collapse, frowned slightly, and shouted in a low voice, and directly used the space confinement. In an instant, the shaking scene around him returned to calm. After stabilizing the Kang Mountains, Xiao Fan opened the 5 fingers of his right hand, forming a terrifying black vortex. From the black vortex, an extremely terrifying devouring force was emitted, instantly enveloping Tanshin K and Kai. Damn it! Tanshin K and Kai sensed the terrifying devouring force, and their minds were greatly shaken. They shouted angrily and tried desperately to break free, but it was completely useless. Roar! In a short moment, the two beasts that made countless people in the area tens of thousands of miles away extremely terrified, after emitting an unwilling roar, were swallowed by the black vortex and turned into pure energy, feeding back to Xiao Fan himself. Zhu Yan and Zhu Ke, who were standing by, were shocked to see Xiao Fan use such a strange method to get rid of the swallowing sky bird and Qiangai. They looked at Xiao Fan with awe. Xiao Fan easily got rid of the swallowing sky bird and Qiangai, then looked at Zhu Yan and Zhu Ke, and smiled faintly. What do you think I should do with you? Chapter 319 100 Years Appointment, Xiao's Expectation. The little red bird Suzaku glared at Xiao Fan in dissatisfaction and made a clear voice. What do you want? Zhu Yan rolled his eyes and said in a deep voice, the winners are the kings and the losers are the bandits. How to deal with us is just a matter of your words. Xiao Fan smiled slightly. You are very clear-sighted. How about this? You two will work for me for 100 years. After 100 years, I will let you go free. Although it was the first time they heard the word work, Suzaku and Zhu Yan quickly understood what Xiao Fan meant, and their faces couldn't help but look a little ugly. Without waiting for the two to speak, Xiao Fan continued, oh, by the way, I am just informing you, not asking for your opinion. Zhu Yan asked carefully, then I don't know what you want us to do. Xiao Fan said casually, it's very simple, just guard a small village for me and secretly protect one of the children. Zhu Yan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he heard what Xiao Fan said, and nodded, okay, I promise you. I hope you can keep your word and let me go free after 100 years. For animals like them, a mere 100 years is actually not a long time. What Xiao Fan wanted them to do was not complicated. Zhu Yan felt that it would not be a loss to agree to it. After all, compared with life, this was nothing. Very good. Xiao Fan nodded with satisfaction, and then looked at the little red bird Zhuke. What about you? Do you agree to my conditions, or follow the two beasts just now? The little red bird Zhuke wanted to say a few more words, but when he thought of the fate of Tank and Qiangai, he had to give up the original idea. If it was killed directly, it would be fine, but it was swallowed by the strange vortex in Xiao Fan's palm, which made it feel scared. After a slight hesitation, the little red bird Zhuke finally chose to surrender. Humphrey, I agree to you. So fierce. Xiao Fan smiled faintly. In this case, let's go. After that, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly tore the space, took Zhuke and Zhu Yan, and returned to the entrance of Shi village through the space channel. Seeing Xiao Fan's means, Zhu Yan and Zhuke were shocked, and they quickly put away some of their thoughts that they shouldn't have. It turned out to be here. After Zhuke recognized Shikun, he was surprised and felt less repulsive. Because before, Zhuke had been to Shikun and had a good impression of Liushan and Shihao. It seems that this guy was not in the village before and returned recently. Zhuke thought to himself and followed Xiao Fan silently with Zhu Yan. After Xiao Fan removed the space barrier around Shikun, the man and two beasts entered the interior of Shikun. Master Xiao Fan, you are back. The villagers in Shikun greeted Xiao Fan respectfully when they saw him coming back. The village chief Shi Yunfeng and Shihao also came to meet Xiao Fan soon. Master Xiao Fan, didn't you say you were going to the depths of the great wilderness before? Is there anything else you forgot to tell me? Shi Yunfeng didn't quite understand why Xiao Fan had just left and returned to Shikun. Xiao Fan smiled and said, there is nothing to explain. I have been to the depths of the great wilderness and brought back the mountain treasure. In addition to the mountain treasure, I also brought back 2 helpers for Shi village. What? This is 2. Shi Yunfeng was shocked by Xiao Fan's efficiency. Although Shi village is located in a vast mountain range in the great wilderness, it is still a long way from the depths of the great wilderness where the 4 fierce beasts are fighting. Xiao Fan went back and forth in less than half a day, and he also snatched the mountain treasure from the 4 fierce beasts. It's too exaggerated. Little Shihao didn't think so much. After greeting Xiao Fan, he looked at the 2 beasts behind Xiao Fan curiously. When he saw Shihao, the little red bird Suzaku, the little one immediately showed a surprised smile. Xiaong, why are you here? The little red bird rolled its eyes at Shihao and did not respond to his question. When Xiao Fan heard what Shihao said, he smiled and said, don't treat this little red bird as an ordinary flying bird. The battle between the 4 ferocious beasts in the depths of the great wilderness almost destroyed the area within tens of thousands of miles. It was one of them, the Suzaku. Little Shihao suddenly widened his eyes. Wow, Xiaoong is so powerful. When the little red bird Suzaku heard what Shihao said, a bit of pride appeared in his eyes. Shi Yunfeng's face changed drastically. He pulled little Shihao behind him and reminded him, Little, be careful and don't get too close to it. Xiao Fan smiled and said, don't worry, Zhuge has agreed to stay in Shi village to protect the safety of everyone in Shi village and Little. In addition to Zhuge, this is Zhu Yan, one of the 4 fierce beasts fighting in the depths of the great wilderness. It will also protect Shi village and Little. The little red bird Zhuge supplemented and corrected, the deadline is 100 years. Little was surprised to hear this. Wow, in this way, in addition to Lord Xiao Fan and Willow God, our village has 2 more powerful people. We are no longer afraid of outsiders bullying us. Xiao Yan was even more shocked when he learned the identities of Zhu Yan and Zhuge. At the same time, he understood that this must be Xiao Fan's credit. Otherwise, how could Zhu Yan and Zhuge agree to protect Shi village for 100 years for no reason? Master Xiao Fan, I really don't know how to repay you for your kindness to Shi village. Xiao Yan bowed to Xiao Fan and thanked him sincerely. Xiao Fan said calmly, if you want to thank someone, thank your sacrificial spirit. Okay, you make arrangements for these 2 new members of Shi village, and follow me, little one. Yes, Master Xiao Fan. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan and little one Xiao responded respectfully at the same time. Zhu Yan and Zhuge didn't have any objection to this. At this time, they had almost accepted their fate. Xiao Fan took Xiao back to his room and took out the so-called mountain treasure he had obtained from the depths of the great wilderness. Little Xiao looked at the simple box that suddenly appeared in front of him and asked curiously, Master Xiao Fan, what is this? Xiao Fan said, this is the mountain treasure that the 4 fierce beasts fought for in the depths of the wilderness. Little Xiao was surprised to hear this and said, even such powerful fierce beasts fought for this mountain treasure. This mountain treasure must be very precious. I wonder what is inside it. Xiao Fan smiled faintly, it is indeed very precious. The Suani treasure technique that you worked so hard to get before is completely insignificant compared to the things treasured in this mountain treasure. Little Xiao was immediately looking forward to hearing Xiao Fan's words. Really? I really want to know what is inside. Master Xiao Fan, can you open the box and let me see what treasures are hidden inside? Xiao Fan smiled and said, since I asked you to come, I will naturally let you see the true face of the mountain treasure. After that, Xiao Fan directly studied the method of opening the box. Little Xiao on this side looked at Xiao Fan groping on the box with expectation. Chapter 320, Rich Harvest, Return to the Fighting World. Xiao Fan has a heaven-defined comprehension. Not only does he have an amplifying effect in cultivation, but he also has great gains in other aspects. In less than a quarter of an hour, the simple box, or the 6-sided white bone, made a crisp sound. It was opened by Xiao Fan. One side was a lid, which automatically separated from the bone, revealing the scene inside. The inside was dotted with rosy clouds. It looked small and not big, but the inside gave people a very spacious feeling, like the night sky with stars. There were several animal skins in it, which were very old and covered with dried blood. I don't know how many years they have existed. What are these animal skins? Are there profound treasures recorded on them? The little guy looked at the scene inside the 6-sided bone, blinked his eyes, and asked curiously, you can say that? Xiao Fan smiled slightly, reached out and took out the animal skins from it, opened them one by one and read them. Soon, the contents of these animal skins were all imprinted in Xiao Fan's mind. Among them, there is the inheritance of the Supreme Hall, the complete 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly art, and many treasures, such as those of the Qian clan, the Luan bird clan, and the Bafang clan. In addition, there is the grass sword art, and the middle part of the original true solution. Any of them is extremely precious in the lower realm of the perfect world. Kai. When Xiao Fan finally studied the animal skin with the grass sword art, silver sword energy suddenly appeared in the room, and the whole room was instantly chopped into pieces, piercing the void and cutting down the stars outside the domain. At the critical moment, Xiao Fan directly laid a space barrier in front of himself and Xiao, and at the same time cast a terrifying space crack, exiling all the silver sword energy into the space crack. Hiss, so scary. Little Bit was frightened by the horrific situation just now. Seeing that everything had stabilized, he asked Xiao Fan, Master Xiao Fan, what was that just now? Xiao Fan said, that is an extremely terrifying sword technique. Without anyone urging it, It has released an extremely terrifying sword energy. If you can master it, it will be enough to crush everyone in the lower realm. Little Bit asked curiously, what does the lower realm mean? Xiao Fan smiled slightly. The place where you live now is a corner of the lower realm. When you cultivate to a certain level in the lower realm, you can ascend to the upper realm. There are more terrifying strong people in the upper realm. Any one of them is enough to destroy the entire lower realm. When Little Bit heard what Xiao Fan said, his eyes widened. Above our world, there is actually a stronger world. Xiao Fan rubbed Little Bit's head and smiled. It's too early for you to say these things now. You should focus on the present, work hard to cultivate, and strive to become the strongest in the lower realm as soon as possible. Hearing this, Little Bit clenched his fist and said seriously, well, I will work hard. In the following days, Xiao Fan first found the God of Willow and obtained the first part of the original true solution from him. Together with the middle part of the original true solution in the mountain treasure, he directly deduced the complete original true solution. Afterwards, Xiao Fan thoroughly comprehended the original true solution himself and practiced the 6 paths of reincarnation and the grass sword technique. Of course, while Xiao Fan was practicing himself, he did not forget to teach Xiao. Xiao Fan was just teaching in a cramming manner for the time being, and gave all these techniques and treasures to the little Xiao. Xiao Fan believed that with Xiao's talent, even if he could not completely master those treasures and techniques for the time being, he would be able to master them quickly as time passed. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it was the 1-month deadline that Xiao Fan had set for Leihu and Zishanhu. When the 1-month deadline arrived, Zishanhu and Leihu respectfully visited and presented all the cultivation resources of Luofu Days and the Golden Wolf tribe to Xiao Fan. Of course, they did not dare to discount the half of the resources of the Lei clan and the Zishan clan. Not only did Xiao Fan kill the leader of the Golden Wolf tribe and the lord of Luofu Lake in front of them, but also because they sensed the terrifying battle in the depths of the great wilderness. They sensed Xiao Fan's figure from that terrifying battle. And the final winner was still Xiao Fan. Even the 4 fierce beasts that were almost invincible in the lower world were dealt with by Xiao Fan. If they dared to play tricks again, how could they survive? After a discussion, the two finally decided to honestly follow Xiao Fan's requirements and send various precious cultivation resources. After receiving the resources, Xiao Fan did not embarrass them, but just warned them and let them leave. After dealing with the affairs of the Thunder Clan and the Purple Mountain Clan, Xiao Fan placed a ban on the souls of Zhu Yan and Zhu Ke, and then disappeared silently from Shi village while Xiao and the people of Shi village were reluctant to leave. Zhu Yan and Zhu Ke were quite shocked when they saw Xiao Fan's silent disappearance. Since Xiao Fan can disappear silently, he can also reappear silently at any time. Their awe of Xiao Fan in their hearts is even stronger. Of course, even if Xiao Fan is not there, they dare not act rashly. It's just because they also feel a great threat from the God of Willow. With the 2 great gods Xiao Fan and God of Willow, Zhuke and Zuyan dare not have any other small thoughts, and can only guard the stoned village honestly. Everyone go back. Remember what Master Xiao Fan said, you must work hard to practice. Only when we are strong, can we protect the village from being bullied by outsiders. After Xiao Fan's figure disappeared for a while, the village chief Xian looked at the people of the stone village behind him and said solemnly, Grandpa village chief, will Master Xiao Fan come back? Little Bit leaned on the village chief Xian, his eyes full of reluctance. During this time, Xiao Fan left a very deep impression in the heart of Little Bit Xiao. Although Xiao Fan did not accept Xiao as a disciple, in the heart of Little Bit Xiao, Xiao Fan is like a master and a father. Xian nodded heavily. Master Xiao Fan will definitely come back. Perhaps he will come back when you have mastered the magic techniques that Master Xiao Fan has given you. Little Bit said seriously, well, I will definitely work hard to practice and learn all the magic techniques that Master Xiao Fan has taught me as soon as possible. In Shi village, on the old willow tree that looked charred and simple, a figure of unparalleled elegance appeared faintly, looking at the direction where Xiao Fan left with a gloomy expression. Although Xiao Fan and Willow God did not communicate much, he also left a very deep impression on Willow God. The heaven and earth fairy milk that Xiao Fan provided her with greatly restored her injuries, more than she had recovered in the past few decades. Moreover, Before Xiao Fan left, he also gave her a lot of heaven and earth fairy milk, as well as a complete original true solution. This made Willow Guide very grateful to Xiao Fan. On the other hand, Xiao Fan did not know what happened after he left. After Xiao Fan dealt with the aftermath of the perfect world, he returned directly to the Qi world through the Wanji chat group. Although a long time had passed in the perfect world, in the Qi world, only one day had passed. When Xiao Fan returned to the Qi world, it was already evening. As soon as he returned to his room, he heard a knock at the door. Chapter 321 Tanbai City was attacked with horrific means. When Xiao Fan heard the noise, his eyebrows slightly raised, and he waved his hand and opened the door directly. He saw Zhi Yan leaning against the door, blinking her big eyes as if she wanted to see the scene inside through the crack of the door. When the door opened, Zhi Yan was not careful for a moment, and her body suddenly leaned down a little into the room, but she soon stood up again. Zhi Yan stared and took the lead to say, "Brother Xiao Fan, what's wrong with you? You suddenly opened the door without any sound, and scared me." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Okay, it's my fault. What do you want to see me for?" Although only one day has passed in the Qi world, Xiao Fan has been in the perfect world for quite a long time. After not seeing each other for a while, Xiao Fan felt a sense of familiarity when he saw Zhi Yan again, so he was too lazy to call her by her real name, and just followed Zhi Yan. He, that's more like it. Zhi Yan laughed and continued, "There's news from the Han family in Tanbai City that a powerful enemy is attacking. The sisters Hanu and Hanzu wanted to report to you, but you were not there. They were worried about the safety of their relatives, so they went back first. By the way, before leaving, they asked me to apologize to you on their behalf." I said, "Brother Xiao Fan is not an unkind person. What's there to apologize for?" Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "You are right. There is really no need to apologize. However, have they found out who attacked Tanbai City, and then went back directly?" Zhi Yan thought for a while and said, "Not sure. It seems to be from the Tan Yao Phoenix clan." Tan Yao Phoenix clan? Xiao Fan couldn't help but frown slightly when he heard this name. After using the dragon transformation pill, Xiao Fan's cultivation level was raised to the peak of the 7-starred emperor. After traveling to the perfect world, although he did not sign in for the elixir to improve his strength, after some practice, plus the energy increased by devouring and refining the fierce beast, his cultivation level also broke through to the realm of 8-star Daodi. With Xiao Fan's current 8-star Daodi cultivation level, he is certainly not afraid of the mere heavenly demon Phoenix clan. But Hanu and Hanzu sisters now only have the cultivation level of 7-starred Sun, and they are still far behind the heavenly demon Phoenix clan. This is the reason why Xiao Fan frowned. Zhi Yan didn't know what Xiao Fan was thinking. After hearing what Xiao Fan said, she nodded again to confirm, "Yes, it's the heavenly demon Phoenix clan. Last time in the Cheng ruins, we killed a few guys from the heavenly demon Phoenix clan." Xiao Fan said, "If it's the heavenly demon Phoenix clan, Hanu and Hanzu will go. I'm afraid it will be a bit dangerous. I will go to Tanbai City myself." Zhi Yan's eyes lit up when she heard this. "I want to go too. Where's King Lin?" Xiao Fan asked casually without responding to Zhi Yan's request. Zhi Yan said, "Before Hanu and Hanzu left, they told King Lin to temporarily take charge of the Lei Yan sect. Hanu and Hanzu had no choice but to leave the Lei Yan sect to Zhi Yan and King Lin before leaving. Zhi Yan was lazy and threw the matter to King Lin. She stood guard outside Xiao Fan's room, waiting for Xiao Fan to appear. While asking questions, Xiao Fan had already released his soul power, covering the entire Lei Yan sect. He found King Lin, who was seriously patrolling the Lei Yan sect, and his mouth couldn't help but rise. King Lin usually looked like a well-behaved maid in front of him, but it was rare for her to show another side. "Let's go. Take King Lin with us, and we will go to Tanbai City together," Xiao Fan said to Zhi Yan after sensing King Lin's location. After that, Xiao Fan went straight to King Lin's location. Although Zhi Yan and King Lin's strength has improved a lot now, they can't be considered weak even in Zhangzhou. However, the enemy this time was a powerful force like the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. With Zhi Yan and King Lin's current cultivation strength, They were still a little bit behind. Xiao Fan considered that if a Sky Demon Phoenix clan suddenly attacked the Lei Yan sect after he went to Tanbai City, it might be dangerous for King Lin and Zhi Yan to stay here. So, he decided to take them with him. As for the other people from the Lei Yan sect, Xiao Fan was going to take them all to the small world. Xiao Fan was like this, and he always liked to play it safe, regardless of whether the Sky Demon Phoenix clan came to attack the Lei Yan sect or not. It would not be bad for Xiao Fan to take these people away. Master, you're back. When King Lin saw Xiao Fan, his face was immediately filled with joy, and he quickly came to greet him. Xiao Fan reached out and rubbed King Lin's head, smiling and said, "Well, I'm back. I haven't seen you for a while, but King Lin has made a lot of progress." King Lin heard this and said shyly, "Master, you are making fun of me." Zhi Yan was a little jealous and said, "It's only been a day. How come we haven't seen each other for a while?" Brother Xiao Fan is really partial to King Lin, so gentle and considerate. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Why, am I very fierce to you?" Hee, that's not the case. Zhi Yan heard this, tilted her head and thought for a while, and then laughed. Xiao Fan shook his head slightly. "Okay, you two stand aside first. I will put everything in the Lei Yan sect into the small world, and then we will go to Tanbai City together to meet the Tian Yao Huang clan." "Yeah." Zhi Yan and King Lin nodded in response to Xiao Fan's words, and then stood beside Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly activated the origin of space, completely separating the space where the Lei Yan sect was located from the Qi world. Crack, crack, crack. Following Xiao Fan's actions, terrifying sounds were heard in the hundreds of miles of the Lei Yan sect. It seemed like something brittle was broken and made a sound, but the sound resounded directly through the sky, causing everyone in the Lei Yan sect to change their faces, not understanding what was going on. Then, the space where the Lei Yan sect was located was directly peeled off by Xiao Fan and moved to the small world. Everyone in the Lei Yan sect changed their faces and couldn't help but panic. What happened? Why do I feel that the whole world is shaking? Who tore the sky apart? It's terrible. No, it's not the world that is shaking. It seems that our Lei Yan sect is moving as a whole. Xiao Fan ignored the panicked discussions of the Lei Yan sect and directly used terrifying space means to move them and the Lei Yan sect to the small world. Boom. In an instant, in the Qi world, the space that originally belonged to the Lei Yan sect was filled with a terrifying space storm, making a deafening sound that resounded through the sky. Such a terrifying movement directly alarmed all the strong men within thousands of miles of Lei Yanzhang. They couldn't help but check the direction of Lei Yanzhang. When everyone saw that Lei Yanzhang was directly removed from the space of the Qi continent by horrific means and a space storm was artificially created, they couldn't help but feel a tingling sensation on their scalps. Let's go to Tanbai City. Xiao Fan ignored the thoughts of others, waved his hand to eliminate the space storm, and then took King Lin and Zone, tearing through the space to Tanbai City. Chapter 322, Han Family Crisis, Powerful Fighting Skills. After Xiao Fan and the other two left, the people around dared to approach the original location of the Lei Yan sect. When they saw that the location of the Lei Yan sect had become a place of spatial turbulence, they were immediately shocked. What happened here? I heard that the Fengelai Pavilion was destroyed, and the people who destroyed the Fengelai Pavilion also established a force called Lei Yan sect here. How come there is no one left in the Lei Yan sect now? It seems that a terrifying strong man attacked the Lei Yan sect. I wonder if there are any survivors in the Lei Yan sect. The Lei Yan sect, as a new force, does not know how to keep a low profile. Now it has provoked a terrifying strong man. It really deserves it. I heard that the Fengelai Pavilion had a relationship with the Tan Yao Phoenix clan. Do you think it was the strong man of the Tan Yao Phoenix clan who took action? Everyone discussed it for a while, but they could not come up with a clear reason. After a period of time, because the large area of space where the Lei Yan sect was located was moved away by Xiao Fan, the spatial turbulence generated was gradually filled by the space of the Qi world. The onlookers found no traces here, and as for the treasures of the Thunder Flame sect, they also didn't get any, so they dispersed. As the crowd dispersed, The news that a strong man from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan had destroyed the Thunder Flame sect in order to avenge the Wind and Thunder Pavilion gradually spread in Zhangzhou. However, no one thought that it was not the action of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan at all, but Xiao Fan used his terrifying space magic to directly move the Thunder Flame sect away from this world. Danbai City was Xiao Fan's first stop after entering Zhangzhou. In Danbai City, there was originally a stalemate between the Hong family and the Han family. Later, due to Xiao Fan's action, the Hong family of Danbai City was directly destroyed, and the Han family became the only overlord of Danbai City. However, Danbai City also became a subordinate force of Xiao Fan, and directly worshipped Xiao Fan as the master. After Xiao Fan destroyed the Wind and Thunder Pavilion and established the Thunder Flame sect, Han Yu and Han Zhu gradually gained Xiao Fan's trust, and their strength and status were greatly improved. Because of the sisters Han Yu and Han Zhu, the Han family in Danbai City is also more prosperous, and its status in the entire Zhangzhou has risen a lot. However, today, the Han family has ushered in a disaster. I saw more than 20 terrifying strong men standing in the air above the Han family. Behind these strong men, there is no chi turning into wings, which means that they are at least strong men at the Zhong level. In the entire Han family of Danbai City, except for the ancestor Han who is at Zhong, there is no other Zhong level strong man. With such a huge gap in strength, the Han family has no power to resist. However, what surprised the Han family was that after these people came to the sky above the Han family, they did not directly attack the Han family, but asked them to send people to the Lei Yanzong for help. Although Han Kai, the head of the Han family, knew that the other party was definitely coming for the Lei Yanzong, but for the survival of the Han family, Han Kai finally notified Han Yu and Han Zhu, hoping that they could bring helpers, especially Xiao Fan. In Han Kai's opinion, although these uninvited guests are not weak, Xiao Fan is not a weakling either. As long as Xiao Fan is willing to help, their Han family can survive this crisis. Doupo, why are only the two of you back? Didn't young Master Xiao come with you? Han Kai, the head of the Han family, was surprised when he saw Han Yu and Han Zhu return, and then he became a little worried. Han Yu shook her head slightly and said, "Young master is not in the Lei Yan sect now. And I heard that something had changed at home, so we had to rush back one step ahead." Han Kai said with some concern, "These people are not kind, and they are all very strong. I wonder if you two are sure of it?" Haha, it seems that the Lei Yan sect really has some means to raise you two girls to the level of 9-star Zun. At this moment, above the Han family, a handsome young man with a rebellious look on his face sneered. This young man, whose name is Xiao Fan, is almost destined to be the next clan leader among the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. He now has the cultivation level of a 2nd-level Zun. Han Yu said, "You all seem to be from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, right? I wonder what our Han family has done to offend the Sky Demon Phoenix clan that is worthy of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan mobilizing so many troops to come and hold us accountable." Xiao Fan said indifferently, "The Han family is just a mere family, and it is not even in the eyes of our Sky Demon Phoenix clan. It's your fault that you followed the wrong people." The leader and deputy leader of the Lei Yan sect are so arrogant that they not only destroyed the Fengalai Pavilion, but also killed the bloodline of our Sky Demon Phoenix clan. They deserve to be killed. Han Zhu said, "Since you said so, why don't you go to the Lei Yan sect to seek revenge in person, but instead come to our Han family?" Could it be that the Sky Demon Phoenix clan only bullies the weak and fears the strong? Xiao Fan sneered, "I heard that the head of the Han family gave his 2 daughters to the leader of the Lei Yan sect for molestation in order to get rich and powerful. It must be you two." As far as I know, the leader of the Lei Yan sect is simply a coward. He always hides and is not in the Lei Yan sect. As long as I catch you two, I don't have to worry about the leader of the Lei Yan sect not showing up. The real master has arrived. Go ahead and kill all the people of the Han family. Let everyone in Zhangzhou learn a lesson. Tell them that they will die if they randomly choose to stand on the same side. Yes, the masters of the Tian Yao Huang clan behind Xiao Fan responded in unison, and then all attacked the Han family. You protect Dad and the clan members and withdraw to Lei Yanzong. I will go to fight them. Seeing this, Han Yu's face suddenly changed. He told Han Zhu and then took the initiative to intercept the Tian Yao Huang clan members who attacked the Han family. Han Yu has followed Xiao Fan for a period of time. Not only has his cultivation strength greatly improved, but his fighting skills have also been greatly enhanced by Xiao Fan's gifts. Han Yu was worried that his clan members would suffer heavy losses, so he immediately displayed the strongest fighting skills he has mastered. Great Heavenly Creation Palm. Han Yu shouted in his heart, and his palm suddenly fell heavily on the void in front of him. The Great Heavenly Creation Palm that Han Yu practiced was modified by Xiao Fan. Not only did it not need the original practice restrictions, but it also increased its actual combat power. As soon as the palm fell, the space collapsed almost instantly. A black light circle that was so dark that it made people feel chilled quickly spread out from the palm of Han Yu's hand. The attacks of those people from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan were like hitting a bottomless black hole, and there was almost no ripple. Even the speed of the spread of the black light circle was not stopped. Those people from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan who were preparing to attack the Han family changed their faces when they saw this scene. In particular, when they saw the black light circle spreading towards them with a terrifying suction force, they were so scared that they retreated again and again. Even Xiao Fan couldn't help but twitch his eyebrows at this moment, and said coldly, "What kind of fighting skill is this?" Chapter 323 arrived in time, and there are still strong ones. Han Yu ignored Xiao Fan's words, and wanted to take advantage of the victory and kill several people from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan directly to relieve some pressure for the next battle. Seeing this, Xiao Fan's colorful eyes became even darker. "Do you really think that you can be arrogant and presumptuous just because you have mastered an excellent fighting skill?" Sky Phoenix Shadow, Xiao Fan shouted coldly, and a terrifying Sky Phoenix Phantom suddenly appeared, and rushed towards Han Yu along with Xiao Fan. Seeing this, Han Yu had to turn around and meet Xiao Fan's attack. Boom! The two people's offensives collided, making a deafening roar. Han Yu's Great Heavenly Creation Palm offensive was blocked by Xiao Fan, but Xiao Fan only had a slight advantage. Seeing that he was no match for Xiao Fan, Han Yu's expression suddenly became more solemn. Xiao Fan's face was extremely gloomy. His cultivation was obviously much stronger than Han Yu's, but he didn't gain much advantage in the fight just now. In Xiao Fan's opinion, this was already a shame. HMPH. I want to see how you can protect all the people in the Han family. Xiao Fan's eyes flickered for a while, and he suddenly changed his mind and planned to attack the other people in the Han family first. Perhaps, in this way, he could also take down Han Yu more smoothly. TSK, is this the genius of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan? It's really disappointing. At this moment, a sarcastic voice sounded in the sky. When the voice fell, an illusory hand condensed by fighting spirit suddenly tore through the space and grabbed Xiao Fan's position. Without waiting for Xiao Fan to react, the illusory hand had already arrived in front of Xiao Fan and instantly grabbed Xiao Fan in his hand. At the same time, a space channel appeared, and three figures, one man and two women, stepped out of the space channel. "Young master, you are here." Han Yu was surprised to see the person coming, and her face was full of joy and relaxation. "Young master, I knew you would not ignore us." On the other side, Han Zhu was also very surprised. There is no doubt that the person who just made a move was Xiao Fan. Next to Xiao Fan were Ziyan and King Lin, who came with him from Lei Yan sect. Ziyan smiled and said, Han Zhu, you only saw brother Xiao Fan, but didn't you see me and sister King Lin? Ziyan, King Lin, thank you for coming to the Han family to help. Han Yu heard the words and also greeted Ziyan and King Lin. Xiao Fan smiled and said, let's talk about greetings later. After a pause, Xiao Fan looked at a certain empty position above the Han mansion and said lightly, if you three don't come out, I will crush you. The young patriarch of the Tian Yao Huang clan. Hearing Xiao Fan's words, Han Ke, Han Yu, Han Zhu and others were all shocked. They didn't expect that in addition to strong men like Xiao Fan, there were even stronger masters of the heavenly demon Phoenix clan hidden around. Let Xiao Fan go. As soon as Xiao Fan's voice fell, a cold and majestic voice rang out in the night sky. As the voice fell, Three figures appeared from the void. The leader was a woman who looked about 30 years old. This woman was wearing a red dress, but her aura was quite strong. A pair of slightly slender eyebrows were slightly raised, revealing a murderous aura, causing the two old men beside her to move a step away without leaving a trace. One of the two old men was wearing a black robe, and the other was wearing light-colored clothes, but his face looked very gloomy. Xiao Fan glanced at the three people casually, and said lightly, 2 1-starred Sheng and 1 2-starred Sheng, hiding in the void, should not be for the mere Han family of Danbai City? The woman said coldly, it seems that you are the leader of the Lei Yan sect who is hiding in the dark. Zhu Yuanzhang said at this time, Elder Phoenix, this man is called Xiao Fan. It is said that he showed the aura of a Sheng at the ancient clan's coming-of-age ceremony. You must not be careless. Sheng, if this kid is a Sheng, then can't I be called it emperor? Hearing Zhu Yuanzhang's words, the old man in black robe spoke sinisterly, obviously not believing that Xiao Fan had the cultivation of a Sheng. The other gloomy old man also said, young people nowadays are too exaggerated. You know, I am now a very old man, but I am only a 1-starred Sheng. Xiao Fan heard Zhu Yuanzhang's address to the woman and the appearance of the other two old men, and couldn't help but guess their identities. He smiled and said, if I am not mistaken, you three should be the 3 Tanyao Phoenixes of the Tanyao Phoenix clan, right? In fact, it was the 3 of them. Zhu Yuanzhang first came out to deal with the Han family, and even arrested the 2 sisters of the Han family, in order to lure out the unknown leader of the Lei Yan sect. In order to be on the safe side, the Tanyao Phoenix clan directly sent the 3 Tanyao Phoenixes to follow Zhu Yuanzhang secretly. When the leader of the Lei Yan sect came out, they took action to deal with it. After all, from the news obtained by the Tanyao Phoenix clan, the record of the leader of the Lei Yan sect was quite brilliant. However, when they saw Xiao Fan's young face, they doubted Xiao Fan's true strength. In other words, they were unwilling to believe that there would be a Sheng as young as Xiao Fan in this world. Hearing Xiao Fan's words, Kun Huang, one of the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes, said proudly, since you know the names of the 3 of us, I advise you to release Zhu Yuanzhang as soon as possible, so as not to ask for trouble. Xiao Fan shook his head slightly. The heavenly demon phoenix clan is really arrogant, and why are you guys so self-righteous? Release Zhu Yuanzhang, otherwise we will immediately exterminate the people and animals in Danbai City. The leader of the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes, Phoenix, directly issued an ultimatum in a cold voice. I am very dissatisfied with your attitude, so, facing the threat of the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes, Xiao Fan's face was extremely calm. As his mind moved slightly, the illusory key hand suddenly tightened. Bang! A blast sounded in the night sky, and Zhu Yuanzhang, the future patriarch of the heavenly demon phoenix clan, was crushed on the spot without even having time to scream. Flesh and blood all over the sky, drifting with the wind. The 3 heavenly demon phoenixes were all stunned when they saw this scene. They seemed to have never thought that someone would dare to slaughter the future patriarch of their heavenly demon phoenix clan in front of them. The people of the Han family in Danbai City were shocked to see Zhu Yuanzhang being killed by Xiao Fan. They had seen the power of Han Yu's great heavenly creation palm just now. Even such a powerful Han Yu was no match for Zhu Yuanzhang, which shows how strong Zhu Yuanzhang was. But Xiao Fan killed such a powerful Zhu Yuanzhang with just a flick of his hand. How strong must Xiao Fan be? Han Ke, the head of the Han family, couldn't help but feel very fortunate at this moment. Fortunately, they made a wise choice and joined Xiao Fan. I want you to die. After being stunned for a long time, the Phoenix, the leader of the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes, was the first to react. With a sharp voice, he suddenly attacked Xiao Fan. Chapter 324, Instant Kill, Self-Destruct. The speed of the Phoenix directly surpassed the speed of sound. In an instant, it was in front of Xiao Fan. Its hands suddenly turned into phoenix claws, and it fiercely grabbed Xiao Fan's throat and head. The Phoenix, in shock and anger, seemed to have forgotten what fighting skills it had, and directly chose the most primitive and sharp way of attack. Then, the Eagle Phoenix and Kun Phoenix also cooperated tacitly and launched a terrifying attack on Xiao Fan. Big Crack Demon Claw! The Eagle Phoenix shouted violently, and its figure flashed. The huge wings behind it were dozens of feet long and stretched out. In a flash, It appeared behind Xiao Fan. The huge black claws pressed down fiercely, and the sharp wind directly blocked the space around Xiao Fan, and then grabbed Xiao Fan's back fiercely. Kun Phoenix blood stomach. Kun Phoenix let out a low shout, and suddenly black air surged around its body, forming a dense and strange vortex. The black air surged out of its body, and quickly formed a huge black strange body hundreds of feet long below Xiao Fan, which looked like a huge stomach organ. Above the stomach, a large hole opened up, like a ferocious big mouth, biting towards Xiao Fan madly. Looking at it, it seemed to want to swallow Xiao Fan. In a very short time, the three heavenly demon phoenixes cooperated very well, almost covering all the vital points of Xiao Fan's body, with murderous intent. In such a situation, if it were an ordinary person, I'm afraid it would be difficult to deal with it. Unfortunately, their opponent was Xiao Fan. Facing the fierce attack of the three people, Xiao Fan was not in a hurry. He waved his right hand lightly, and a thunder sword suddenly appeared, slashing at the two phoenix claws of the phoenix. Swish! The sword light flashed, and the two claws of the phoenix were easily cut off. Ah! The phoenix let out a sharp cry of pain, and its body suddenly swelled several times, turning into a heavenly demon phoenix with colorful feathers and a size of 1,000 feet. However, the heavenly demon phoenix lacked two claws, which destroyed its beauty. At the same time, a black vortex suddenly appeared on Xiao Fan's back, emitting a terrifying devouring force, and directly swallowed up the claws of the eagle phoenix. Then, the entire eagle phoenix was swallowed up by the vortex, transformed into energy, and fed back into Xiao Fan's body. And the Kun Phoenix below, using all his strength to display his unique skills, trying to devour Xiao Fan's legs, but a black flame suddenly appeared. The Kun Phoenix did not react at all, and directly swallowed the black flame into its body. Soon, its body began to burn with black flames from the inside. In a moment, the body of the Kun Phoenix was burned into nothingness by the terrifying black flame. Hiss! Seeing this scene, the Han family below, as well as the more than 20 so-called masters of the heavenly demon Phoenix clan, could not help but take a breath. Xiao Fan's strength was too strong, and his method also made them shudder, especially the people of the heavenly demon Phoenix clan. They knew the power of the three heavenly demon phoenixes. The three heavenly demon phoenixes attacked Xiao Fan at the same time, but Xiao Fan killed two of them in seconds, and crippled the claws of the eldest phoenix. With such strength, even among their heavenly demon phoenix clan, I'm afraid they can't find someone like him. Could it be that the leader of the Lei Yan sect, Xiao Fan, has surpassed the patriarch of their heavenly demon phoenix clan in strength? While being shocked, the people of the heavenly demon phoenix clan couldn't help but roll their eyes and began to consider whether to find a chance to escape. But now the phoenix is not dead yet. If they just escape like this, if the phoenix goes back, they will probably feel worse than death. Third brother, second brother, Phoenix looked at the eagle phoenix and Kun Phoenix who died one after another, and suddenly cried out in grief. The three heavenly demon phoenixes have lived together for many years, and their feelings for each other are very deep. Although Phoenix usually looks cold and majestic, she still attaches great importance to the eagle phoenix and Kun Phoenix. At this moment, seeing the eagle phoenix and Kun Phoenix die almost at the same time in front of her, Phoenix even forgot that her claws were cut off. Compared with the lives of eagle phoenix and Kun Phoenix, what is her pair of claws? Let's die together. Phoenix has gone completely crazy. With a roar, she frantically urged the fighting spirit in her body, gathered it at the magic core, and prepared to explode and die with Xiao Fan. Suddenly, the huge phoenix, which was thousands of feet tall, was filled with extremely terrifying and manic aura. Master Phoenix exploded. Run away. Seeing that the phoenix was about to explode, the people of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan suddenly changed their faces, shouted, and fled away frantically. The self-explosion of the phoenix gave them an excuse to escape. The people in the Han mansion below felt the extremely manic and terrifying aura of the phoenix in the sky, and their faces changed. Such a strong aura, once it exploded, I'm afraid the entire Tanbai city would be completely destroyed. I don't know how many people in their Han family can survive by chance. I don't know if Master Xiao Fan can save them. Of course, Not all Han family members were waiting for Xiao Fan to rescue them. Some of them chose to flee frantically. Zhu Yan and King Lin stood calmly beside Xiao Fan, without any panic. They were full of confidence in Xiao Fan. Space cutting. Xiao Fan shouted in his heart, and activated the space magic again, instantly cutting the space where the phoenix was from the space where they were. The location of the phoenix instantly became an independent space. Bang! A terrifying explosion sounded in that independent space. The huge body of the phoenix, which was thousands of feet long, instantly exploded into pieces of flesh and blood. Unfortunately, the phoenix's idea did not come true. Standby City was quiet, and no place was affected by the phoenix's self-explosion. Come back. After resolving the crisis brought to Standby City by the phoenix's self-explosion, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and released a large handprint of fighting spirit that covered the sky and the sun, and suddenly went to capture the fleeing Tian Yao Huang clan members. A moment later, the people of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan who had fled hundreds of miles away were all caught back by the terrifying giant ant, swallowing the sky and the earth. Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and a terrifying black vortex directly emerged from his palm, swallowing all the so-called masters of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan and refining them into energy. Let's go down. After killing all the invading enemies of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, Xiao Fan said to Zhu Yan and King Lin, and then took them to land in the courtyard of the Han mansion. Greetings, young master, thank you for saving the Han family from life and death again. As soon as Xiao Fan landed, Han Kai immediately led everyone from the Han family to step forward, respectfully saluted Xiao Fan, and expressed gratitude. Xiao Fan waved his hand and said, "There is no need to be so polite, Patriarch Han. Since the Han family has already submitted to me, I will naturally not allow others to harm the Han family. What's more, this time, those people from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan were originally coming for me." Han Yu said, "My sister and I also contributed to the destruction of the Fengalai Pavilion, and they were the ones who went too far first." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Okay, we are all family, so let's not say these polite words." Han Kai heard that and hurriedly said, "Young master is right, let's go into the mansion and talk first." Xiao Fan nodded slightly, and was about to enter the Han mansion with Han Kai and others, when he suddenly sensed a violent space fluctuation above the Han mansion again, and he couldn't help but raise his brows slightly. Chapter 325, Kill the Sky Demon Phoenix Clan. Soon, a space passage appeared above the Han mansion. From the space passage, an old man and a handsome young man stepped out. Seeing the two people, Xiao Fan couldn't help but smile. "Yanzi, Mr. Yao, why are you here too?" Yes. The two people who suddenly came were Xiao Yan and Yao Chen. When Xiao Yan saw Xiao Fan was there, a smile appeared on his face. "So third brother is here, it seems that I have made a wasted trip," Yao Chen said on the side. "Xiao Yan and I heard in Xinian Pavilion that a big change had taken place in Lei Yanzong, so we rushed to check the situation. After arriving at Lei Yanzong, we heard about the things in Standby City, so we thought about rushing to help the Han family." Hearing what Yao Chen said, Han Kai, the head of the Han family, hurriedly said, "Thank you, Mr. Xiao Yan and this old gentleman." Xiao Yan said, "You're welcome. I also heard that the Han family's affairs have something to do with Lei Yanzong. As the deputy leader of Lei Yanzong, I should do my part." After a pause, Xiao Yan asked Xiao Fan again, "By the way, third brother, what exactly happened in Lei Yanzong? Why didn't even a single disciple stay?" Xiao Fan smiled slightly when he heard this. "Don't worry, all those people in Lei Yanzong have been taken into my small world." When Xiao Yan heard what Xiao Fan said, he was immediately relieved. "I see, I thought Lei Yanzong was attacked by the enemy." Han Kai invited Xiao Fan and his friends to come to the Han mansion to chat. Xiao Fan and his friends had no objection to this, and immediately followed Han Kai to the Han mansion. After entering the Han mansion, everyone chatted and reminisced about the past, and Xiao Yan asked about the attack on Standby City. Han Kai said respectfully, in reply to Master Xiao Yan, "The one who attacked our Standby City this time is said to be the power behind the Fengalai Pavilion, the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, the dominant race of demon beasts." Yao Chen stroked his long beard and said, Is the heavenly demon Phoenix clan attacking the Han family because of the Fengali Pavilion? Shouldn't they attack the Lei Yan sect? After all, the Lei Yan sect can be said to have been established by stepping on the Fengali Pavilion. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "The people of the heavenly demon Phoenix clan know the relationship between the Lei Yan sect and the Han family, especially the identities of the sisters Han Nu and Han Zhu. They want to lure Han Nu and Han Zhu, and then lure out Yanzi and me by dealing with the Han family." Yan said, "It seems that it's because my third brother and I spend too little time in the Lei Yan sect on weekdays." Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "Maybe that's the case." Yao Chen stroked his beard and smiled. "I'm afraid the heavenly demon Phoenix clan is not only attacking the Fengali Pavilion, but also because of the loss at the Cheng ruins last time, and the dragon Phoenix origin fruit." Upon hearing that, Yan clenched her fists and said fiercely, "If I had known earlier, I would have killed all those people." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "You don't have to worry about it. Since the Sky Demon Phoenix clan doesn't want to give up, then we will do as they wish." Yan's eyelids jumped. "Third brother means that we should directly kill the Sky Demon Phoenix clan?" Xiao Fan said, "Yes. After what happened this time, the Sky Demon Phoenix clan will probably not give up. In that case, then we will take the initiative to attack and flatten the Sky Demon Phoenix clan." Yan said, "In that case, I will go to the Sky Demon Phoenix clan with third brother." Yao Chen stroked his long beard lightly and said with a smile, "I haven't moved my old bones for a long time. This time I will move with you. Since I am an elder of the Zhao clan, I must live up to the name." Yan clenched her fists and said loudly, "I want to go too. This time I want to kill a few more guys from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan to vent my anger." Sisters Han Nu and Han Zhu then expressed their desire to go together. As for King Lin, she would follow Xiao Fan wherever he went. After making the decision, Xiao Fan and his party did not stay at the Han family for long. They just rested for a while. The next morning, they left Zhongzhou and went to the Beast Domain. The Beast Domain is a huge area that is not inferior to Zhongzhou at all. And here, like Zhongzhou, there are countless wonderful things. In the Beast Domain, the most eye-catching existence is undoubtedly the three tribes standing at the top of the pyramid: the Taixu Ancient Dragon, the Tanyao Phoenix Clan, and the Jiuyu Daiming Python. Among the three tribes, the Taixu Ancient Dragon Clan has a tendency of turmoil and division due to the disappearance of the old patriarch Zhu Kun, and has not shown its power in the Beast Domain for many years. The Jiuyu Daiming Python Clan is huge in number, but in terms of the quality of the strong, it is inferior to the Tanyao Phoenix Clan. Therefore, in the years when the Taixu Ancient Dragon Clan was silent, the status of the Tanyao Phoenix Clan in the Beast Domain was the same as that of the Soul Palace in Zhongzhou. Although Xiao Fan and Yan did not know the location of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan, they had Yao Chen, an old antique, by their side, so it was not difficult for them to find the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan. Under Yao Chen's guidance, 3 days later, Xiao Fan and his party arrived at the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan. "Who dares to trespass into my Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan?" As soon as Xiao Fan and his party arrived at the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan, an angry and cold shout came from the depths of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan. When the voice fell, the space emitted waves of fluctuations, and soon, a man in a purple and gold robe appeared in the sight of Xiao Fan and his party. This man looked like an ordinary middle-aged man, but he had an invisible majestic aura on his body, which seemed quite extraordinary. This middle-aged man was Huangtian, the patriarch of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan. When Xiao Fan brought Yan and others to the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan, he did not hide his aura, so Huangtian sensed the arrival of the powerful aura at the first time. Huangtian's eyes swept over Xiao Fan, Yan and Yao Chen, and a solemn look flashed in his eyes. "Who are you? What are you doing in my Tianyao Phoenix Clan?" Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he easily sensed the cultivation strength of the person in front of him, and based on this, he judged Huangtian's identity, and said lightly, "Patriarch Huangtian, didn't you send people to Zhongzhou Tanbai City to deal with the Han family, specifically to lure me out? How come you don't know who we are?" Huangtian was slightly startled when he heard this. He only sent the 3 phoenixes and 9 phoenixes of the heavenly demon to lead people to destroy the Lei Yan sect, and he did not arrange how to do it specifically. However, after a little thought, Huangtian also understood what was going on, and said in a cold voice, "So, you are the leader of the Lei Yan sect, who gave you the courage to dare to attack the people of my Tianyao Phoenix clan." As he spoke, Huangtian suddenly released the powerful momentum of the late 5-starred Sheng, and pressed towards Xiao Fan and his party. Facing the 5-starred Sheng late-stage momentum of Huangtian, Yao Chen's face changed slightly, and he retreated uncontrollably. With the help of Xiao Yan, he stabilized his body. As for Ziyan, King Lin, and the sisters Han Nu and Han Zhu, they were protected by Xiao Fan and were not affected. Xiao Fan smiled slightly. It seems that the momentum of the Huangtian clan leader is not enough to suppress others. Let's just do it directly. Yan said at the side, "Third brother, let me deal with him." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.